Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is Tuesday, February 26th. It's about 7:35 p.m. I did again? April 26th. I do it every time. Tuesday, April 26th, it's about 7:35 p.m. Tonight we were in Town Hall in the Mathers Center, in the Cafe Extension. We wanted a bigger room so everyone that wanted to come to the meeting can come to the meeting socially distant. Tonight we have a public hearing and a general meeting, which should be short. We have a very focused agenda, and there's only one item on our public hearing. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. The first and only item in the public hearing on the agenda is business site plan application number 245 A as in Apple, special permit application number 325, Darien Hot Chicken LLC at 151 Boston Post Road. Proposal to establish a new 3,500 square foot plus or minus quick service restaurant with drive-thru facilities in the space previously occupied HSBC Bank and to perform related site development activities, including installation of new hardscape areas, landscaping, lighting, and stormwater management. The improvements to the property are to include a new 16-seat outdoor patio for seasonal dining, and reconfigure the 30-space parking lot and drive-through facilities. The 0.945 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the north side of Boston Post Road, approximately 250 feet east of its intersection with Richmond Road, and is shown on Assessor's map number 12 as lot 36 and 37 in the service business zone. This is a former bank branch that's been closed, I'm going to say, for at least 4 years. It was built to suit by HSBC, and HSBC consolidated a while ago.
2006.
And they actually closed more branches and sold more branches in the last month and a half. So tonight it looks like we have Jackie Kaufman here from Carmody to present the application. And I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. My name is Jackie Kaufman. I'm an attorney with Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy, here tonight representing the applicant. And I'd like to introduce our team to you. I know we have, I would say that probably half of this room is our team and consultants, and I know we do have a few interested neighbors here too who we've consulted with too, so everyone will have time to speak. And I have to say it's very much my pleasure to be here in person with you tonight. It's those small things that really fill your bucket. It's really nice to see your faces and be able to shake the hands of many of my colleagues who I haven't been able to in 18 months to 2 years. So it's really, really lovely. With me tonight are the owners of Bird Code. So we have our application itself is in the name of Darien Hot Chicken LLC. And that is the parent company of Bird Code, who will be the tenant at the new HB, or in the former HB Bank site. And that's represented here tonight by Phil and Brandy Killorn, if you can raise your hands and say hello. They're the owners. They currently operate the same restaurant in West Hartford. It's been very, very successful. They're very hands-on and will very much be involved in the operation of this restaurant. With them is Bill Case, their partner, and Stephen Ebanks, the director of operations for Bird Code as well. So many people here to answer your questions about their operations tonight. Also, we have a VIP, Donna Killorn, who is Phil's mom, who is also here to tell you that he is a great guy, on top of being a very successful business operator, and I think so. He and his wife will be hopefully be welcomed by the community, and as will this restaurant.
To Mrs. Killorn, we also had the mother of the Kalari family when BMW was here.
That's right.
So you're not the first parent to come with their son that's, I guess, too little to talk for himself sometimes.
Character witness. Right?
Exactly.
Attorney Kaufman might remember that.
Our professional team consists of my partner, Jason Klein, who's done a terrific job liaising with staff over the last several months, and we really appreciate all the time and effort they've put into it. In fact, we've been working on this application since April of last year. I think we actually had our first Zoom meeting together to kick this off then. So it's been a consistent dedication on behalf of the applicant and staff, and thank you very much for all the time you've given us, probably more than usual given the Zoom factor. So with us, we have Jennifer Morgenthau, the project architect, Richard Fontaine, if you can raise your hand, thank you, who is our site engineer, Matt Pop, our landscape architect, Perry Chain, our acoustical expert, Neil Olinsky, our traffic engineer. I think that's everyone. Did I miss anyone? Okay, good. So everyone's here, and I know that we have the full night. We're going to be as efficient as possible. We will run through each of some commentary from each of our professional development team members, and then hopefully be in a position to answer your questions and those of the public. I also understand we're still waiting for some outstanding comments from traffic, from the town's traffic engineer, and we've made some progress so far. So we understand it will be kept open tonight. So to the extent you have questions for us that we can't answer, we have time to get those answers back to you.
That'd be great.
So I'd like to start by orienting you to the site. Don't mind me as I stand over. It's slightly awkward since the table is low. But we are in the SB zone. I'm going to point with my finger to the property right here, which is at the closest intersection to Richmond and the Post Road. The SB zone line runs right along this back property, so we have US Post Road running north to south.
Jackie,
Close.
can I get
Yes.
your response?
Is it?
Fred, can you move the easel back?
Oh,
So
sure.
one Jackie's not
Jason, can
leaving
you-
forward, and also so TV 79 can get a
Can
better
pick that up? Sure.
shot of it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Forgot about these.
Is that good for you guys?
Oh, she needs to stay by the microphone.
No, she will.
I will put
She
the
will.
microphone over as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we can hold the microphone if that's, can it move with me? Is that okay?
Absolutely, yeah, just take it right out of there. Oh, you have to unwind it. Oh, I'm sorry. Want me to do that for you?
No, we're gonna go like this.
You do like a queen thing and just hold the whole thing.
Thank you. Want to make sure these guys get it.
Back in action. Is that picking you up? Is that okay?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, so we have our property right here, marked as existing site. And we're here in, SB zone. As I was mentioning here, this is the property line. It runs along the length of the commercial properties that run north and east and west along the Post Road. We have Interstate 95 here, the mini dealership, a restaurant here, Darien Car Wash up this way, and then Richmond Hill Drive continue this way into the downtown of Darien. The site was initially entitled, prior to 2006, it was a vacant parking lot. And it was utilized to support the restaurant across the street. It consisted of 2 lots. Those lots were merged in 2006 to allow the entitlement of the bank, which included 2 drive-through lanes and 27 parking spaces. It was required to have 35 parking spaces at the time, but given the capacity that the drive-through could accommodate, the commission provided a parking reduction, and if those spaces were ever needed, they could be installed on the property. There was room to do that. But in the interest of operations and optimizing operations and beautifying the center of the site, they elected to put landscaping in the lieu of those 7 spaces, and they were never found to be needed. It operated quite well, and I think everyone's quite familiar with it, located here in traditional. It has a traditional bank design, come through here, come around the back, and then out through the 2-lane covered parking canopy here for the drive-through. There was a bypass lane that I'm pointing to as well. Also, there was a 25-foot buffer that was always maintained, and that was part of the findings at the time in 2006. So that was considered to be additional setback and screening for between the SB zone and the residential zone to the north. There was also a fence that was installed at the time. That fence is in disrepair. It will be replaced. And we've also enhanced the landscaping plan, which also was a big selling point in 2006. It's a much, much improved plan, and we're going to make it even better than it was then. So we will go through all of these points in detail. I'd like to just start by bringing up Brandy and Phil, please, and so they can tell you a little bit about the restaurant, so that when we get to speaking about the operations, you have a little context for that.
Fantastic.
We have a small deck that we've been using for Zoom meetings, and we're going to pass you that out. It just has a few images about the brand.
Okay. Phil and Debbie, just, the only person that's important is Bonnie. So if she can hear you, you're fine.
Okay.
And I'll need you to give me your names and spell them for me, please.
No problem. Randy, would you like to go first?
My name is Brandy Killoran. It's Brandi. Killoran, Killoran.
Thank you.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Phil, Phil, the same last name, Killoran.
Thank you.
Thank you. And obviously, we are the founders and owners of Birdcoat. So Birdcoat Hot Chicken is, as Jackie said, we're a family-owned and run restaurant. We are not a fast food restaurant. We are an upper-end fast casual restaurant. We focus specifically on high-end farm-to-table chicken. All of our produce is locally sourced. Many of our partners on our other products are local within our communities, from our soda providers to our alcohol providers, back to our buns and our French fries and
We say
and
as
so on.
local as possible.
As local
So
as
we like to
possible.
do local produce, local beer, local food. We exclusively partnered with Bell & Evans Chicken because we are partnering with a chicken that is of much higher quality to be able to provide that to the people that we serve.
Absolutely. I've been operating in the restaurant business for the last 25 years, and Birdcoat is really an extension of my passion and my wife's passion. We really want to serve a quality, high-end product in a somewhat fast manner in a community that we love. And one of the things that's key to us as we grow Birdcoat here in Connecticut is finding those right communities. And we were extremely fortunate enough that we received a call from Jerry, the current landowner of that property, and had an opportunity to look at it. And Darien is a town that it's perfect to quarter our values. Again, we have my mom here today, who's part owner in our business as well. Family is everything to us. So, again, Darien was that spot for us. That site specifically, as Jackie was saying earlier, and I think we can stick with this one. What attracted us to that site was its proximity to the downtown of Darien, the easy access there on Route 1. We want to ensure we have a location that doesn't impact our communities around us. When you build things like this, it's essential that your traffic is on point, your smells, your sounds, all the things are on point. And as you'll see here today with the professionals that we brought in, we've tried to hit the nail on the head with every piece of that. We've been at this for, good Lord, 18 months now?
Yeah.
Around 18 months now.
Yes.
And, we wanted to make sure we brought you the most comprehensive package that we could. And satisfy the people around us, our neighbors
We
as
wanted
well.
to be very mindful as well, and just be aware of anything, issues going on. Our current location in West Hartford, Connecticut, is in a residential neighborhood with houses that literally abut each side of the restaurant. So we were able to really be, mindful of all of the issues, and we've had great success so far.
You
Thankfully.
can see some of the
Yeah.
photos, the before and after.
There is a before and after.
That's what I was about to get to.
We remediated.
You have to speak one at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry.
Agreed. So there is a page that shows a before and after photograph. The original location that we took over in West Hartford was a former gas station, and we actually did remediate that property, remove tanks from the ground, worked with the APA to really clean it up, and we took it very, very seriously, and as you can see, we definitely improved the look and the feel of the property. So
We added a 1,200 square foot addition to that property.
Yes.
All the mechanicals, everything brand new.
Yes.
Soup to nuts. The same type of thing that we would do here.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is an existing building in place, but frankly, it's 20 years old. So it's about time to upgrade. You'll see through our designs that our architect will present today. It's current, up to date, fits the community. The landscaping, again, very important to us. We need to make sure, number one, it looks great, but number two, it screens us. That's something, we don't want to be impacting those around us.
Yes.
Anything you want to add to that?
So that's basically really it. Our biggest focus also is people. We are a people business first. Our first customers are the people that actually work for us. So providing jobs in the communities that we live and we work. Like Phil grew up literally 5 minutes from where our current first location is. This is our first endeavor into owning our own concept and our own property. We formerly were franchisees of another larger corporation. We were franchisees for Ben & Jerry's ice cream. So we owned quite a few locations. We loved operating those stores, but this gives us the freedom to work with our employees. I shouldn't say employees, we call them team members. With our team members to provide them with gainful employment and provide them with opportunities they may not have had prior. So it's something that we really focus on. We're extremely proud that we were able to open that restaurant in November of 2020 during the height of the pandemic. We immediately hired 35 people for $15 plus an hour. Like, we made real efforts to, become an integral part of the people's lives that we interact with. Yeah.
So to speak to this location from an operational perspective, COVID has changed everything for the food business as a whole. So it's become super important that you have many different avenues for your consumer to acquire your product. In this location, obviously we have the experience-based indoor. We have the patio. Outdoor seating is key now. You can see in some of the new state regs that have come out, especially. We still have a percentage of consumers that don't want to come out. And those people, we really want to make sure we make them feel comfortable. And that's where that piece comes in.
So you can actually see on the next page of the packet that we provided that we were actually one of the first people to actually get a mobile pickup window. So during the height of the pandemic.
In the town of West Hartford.
In the town of West Hartford. Sorry, I should clarify. Yes. Okay, so yes, so we got the mobile pickup window. So it is very important to us. Safety is very important to us. And being able to provide our customers with being able to get the food in any way that they felt comfortable was really important. So they could come in and pick it up at the pickup window. They never had to talk to anybody. You can order it on your phone. You can order it on the app, on the website. You can come in if you'd like or not, whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So, like she said, this location's a little different than that location. West Hartford's got a pickup window. This obviously has a drive-through in play. Yeah, we do expect, a good number of our customers to use that drive-through, but we also expect many to come inside through, looking for the indoor experience now, looking to sit on that patio. There's a delivery component as well, and I know Jack had mentioned to me earlier, it's definitely something we should speak to because, delivery's changed a lot of the game, and it impacts not only, the customers with those orders, but it impacts the customers that are sitting at your restaurant when they're coming to pick up. It impacts traffic. It can block
parking.
It impacts parking. Mm-hmm. So, when we open a location, like when we open West Hartford, the first thing we do is we roll out delivery on our own app. We don't run the third-party sites.
At all.
Once we know that location can accommodate that, then at that point, we look to use those third-party sites.
So we have no plans.
To accommodate the sales volumes.
Correct.
One of the reasons that we shop for a drive-through is, frankly, we're trying to move away from third-party delivery.
Yeah.
Great.
It's not something,
It's really not something we want to participate in. So DoorDash, Uber Eats. Sorry, we did it again.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's something that DoorDash, Uber Eats, those type of, that's what we're trying to move away from. So when we initially opened the restaurant, like we did in West Hartford with our first location, we didn't get on board with those delivery companies until we were really sure that was something that the surrounding area really wanted and needed.
Yeah. And, to speak, I know Rich will do a little more on this later in terms of the site plan itself, but as part of our redesign, we tried to design it so essentially the site is a full loop. Our stacking of our drive-through is significantly long, because the type of product that we serve, we're looking at about a 5-minute turn time, and we want to make sure we can accommodate any of those customers in the drive-through. Also, like I said, a full loop around so that we can get a left-hand turn exit. As you'll speak with our traffic team here today, it was important to us that we bring a traffic team on to make sure that we could accommodate all of that as well. So that's one of the things that we did on that front. Excuse me. From an hours of operation standpoint, we're closed on Mondays in West Hartford, and we expect the same thing to go on here.
Yeah.
The reason we do that is we're a culture business. We're a people business. It's about our team to give them that day off. We want them to have the ability to do the things they're not able to do on a weekend. It also reduces our hours, which makes our economics better. We like the idea of having a little bit of reduced hours and trying to operate those to the best of our ability, which then gives us the ability to compensate our team significantly better. And in the end, if you look at our West Hartford location, we've been open 18 months. Our turnover rate is about a quarter of what the industry is right now. And that's key to us. And, again, like she said earlier, it's a family thing, right? It's creating connections with people. We use food to create those connections with those people. But also in designing of our restaurants, we need to ensure that, like I said earlier, lack of impact. We want to have a quality experience both in-store in those drive-throughs. We don't want to have those third-party delivery drivers pulling up into random spots and blocking everything. We're really not interested in that. You know, easy in, easy out, and get people what they're looking for. Anything you want to add?
No, the only other thing I'd like to maybe speak about is the experience base that we're looking at for our customers to really want to come inside the restaurant. So not only the look of the restaurant, but we also partner with an artist. His name is Corey Payne. He's an amazing muralist. He's internationally famous now, which is crazy because he's this wonderful kid who lives right down the street. And we've known him for years, and Bill has known him for years and years. He is going to be coming in, doing our murals specifically for Darien, and to really, you can see some of the pictures of the interior of the restaurant with those flyer flaming chickens and that kind of stuff, and he's just unbelievable. So when you come into our restaurants, all of the wood that's on the walls is all reclaimed pallet wood that my husband and I repurposed ourselves. We power washed all of that ourselves. Locally sourced. We hung it up. Like, we try every piece. So local artists, local materials, we really make an effort to, you know, keep it local.
So the West Hartford location, 96% of that location were items sourced in Connecticut.
Yes.
And that was a very big piece of what Brandy and I, you know, again, the value piece of it, but helping businesses. Like, we built during COVID. There were people that did not have customers. So from our side, it was key to make sure that we do that. And here in Darien, we're looking to do the same thing. We want to make sure we use those Connecticut-based businesses. We want to make sure that, you know, they have an opportunity to show their work and their story. So
Absolutely.
awesome. I think we're good to go here. Good.
Appreciate it. And Jack probably has an agenda. We may have some questions for these guys.
Oh, sure. Would you
like-
like to start with
No, I mean,
questions now?
it's-
It's up to you
it's-
if you'd like to. I mean,
I don't wanna get too
I wanted
deep.
to introduce them first because I think they are wonderful people, but also very committed business owners. And typically, we'll sometimes see an applicant come down at the end, but I think that they're going to be very, very involved in the operation of this store, and meeting them and understanding what their goals are and how they're going to integrate your communities is very important for this restaurant. If you'd like to ask some questions, I'm happy to save the boring
It'll probably come
details
up
for
later, but it's probably more related
Please, go
to
ahead.
staffing and like, what's the size of a staff? Is that gonna come up in the traffic section or the parking section or no?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that in there. So the size of the staff, but you have 12 people, 12 absolute
On
max.
shift. What do you have max on shift?
Max is 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, 12 generally plus a leadership member. So whoever the operator of the location is, or myself. I should have said that earlier too. You can fully expect to see me in there every single, I'm a hands-on operator and have been for 25 years. But 12. So we leverage technology. It's a big piece of what we do. If you're gonna pay people the type of wage that we wanna pay people, you have to have minimal amount of staff. And so we currently run the West Hartford location with 7 people. Yeah,
And also part of this operation, slightly distinguishable from that, and why you do have an increase, is because there's a dedicated staff for the drive-thru.
Yes.
And then there's a dedicated staff for the restaurant room. And that's so that it keeps, sometimes you'll see that you have longer queues, and it will be a longer experience to have your drive-thru because the same kitchen staff is serving in-house and outside customers. And here, to streamline that, they have additional staff.
I was previously employed by Starbucks in the early 2000s when they started to roll out drive-thrus. And, you know, at that time, we saw, we got to put 2 lines in because the only way we're going to be able to move the people adequately is to ensure that we do that. So what we're doing these days is, like she said, with the lines, and then again, adding the technology, adding the pieces to make it more efficient for us, down to, can I, one more?
Yeah, keep going.
Down to our inventory projecting software that basically will tell us what we're going to serve per hour so that drive-through doesn't stack up, you know, and impact traffic.
So it's not only a dedicated staff for each side, it's dedicated equipment and a dedicated line as well.
Yep.
So when we talk about the operations and literally assembling the food, then we have 2 lines to do that, one for in-store business and one for the drive-through itself. So we want to be as
We can show you
efficient
that
as
on the
possible.
floor plan if you're interested.
Yeah,
Yeah,
efficient
when
as
that comes
possible.
up, what is the floor, what's the size and number of seats inside West Hartford?
Currently,
Oh,
it's
it's half the size,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Maybe even
Okay.
less than that. This is a 3,500 square foot building. We are using the existing building. There's no change to the massing of the building whatsoever.
It's 1,301 square feet.
In West Hartford.
West Hartford? West Hartford is 1,250 customer area.
Okay.
This one would be 1,301.
Okay, that's great.
And
And then the rest of the building is back of house, storage, cooling storage, bathrooms.
Yeah.
And then here, 2 prior to this, the original 2006 approval has a two drive-through lane, two windows, with the same amount of stacking along the back, along the rear of the property line, the northerly property line. That will be reduced to one. And then the second lane becomes the bypass lane, and then additional parking is located on the westerly side adjacent to the other restaurant. That is where many of the employees will park, and we can look to that on the site plan as well.
In the seating, 60 seats interior, it's another 16 outside.
In West Hartford?
Oh,
Yeah.
West Hartford, I'm sorry, West Hartford currently has 42 seats. Of the 42, we are 12 outside. That location specifically, it was designed for to-go business. It was not designed for interior, what do you call it, interior experience. As we said, we built it during COVID. We're fortunate that, we had that great property there, and, we really focused on that to-go business as a whole. Whereas, part of the reason that we wanted to come to this location is to expand that indoor, full dining experience again.
And this one's gonna be 60 seats inside, 16 outside?
16 inside, 16 outside.
Okay, that's fine.
And the outside seats, they're lovely to have, but they really were a COVID brainchild. Right?
Yes.
And we saw that there were just alternative ways to enjoy being outside. And I know that there were questions that were asked about what will be the impact of having dining outside. And obviously that's seasonal, and will be consistent with ours. It is a minimal number of seats. It's really the equivalent of about 4 picnic tables. So it's not a large number. And since the service starts inside, you don't take orders outside at the table. You come to the counter to order, and then your meal is delivered to you outside. There is a minimal time experience expected there. It's not going to have, you expect to have music outside.
No,
Our turn time.
And any type of entertainment. No, it's just simply an alternative for people who wish to be outside and for safety purposes. That's how it was.
Yeah, so there's no
Forward.
plans, no music out, we don't do that currently in West Hartford, we're not gonna do it here, no music outside, no live music, we're not doing any of that.
They do have a tremendous playlist inside, and they're selling themselves short by saying it wasn't designed for the inside being a sit-down experience.
Yep.
Because I did go up for lunch and stayed. We met there. I had a great lunch, and then I stayed for another 90 minutes. Yeah. Met a couple other lawyers from Hartford who walked in, who I happened to know. It was a lovely afternoon. As did Jeremy Ginsburg and the chief of police. I told them that it was a great chicken sandwich, and I said, "Don't take my word for it. You should go." And they did, under the dark of night. They went and ordered, and before they revealed themselves.
Yes.
But they ultimately did, and met
they met us.
came out and saw them. But it is a much enhanced dining experience.
Yeah.
Certainly here.
The outdoor tables will turn very quickly. Generally, right now, we're turning in about 6 to 7 minutes outside. I expect it likely to be around the same thing.
I don't wanna take you guys out of order, so I
Oh,
know
no, certainly. You can, if you have more operational questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I had a quick question. It was really just more to clarify, because when you're saying a separate line or 2 lines, you're not speaking about the drive-through lane lines, you're speaking about industry speak. So maybe just clarify for the
They're
record.
production lines.
Yes, ma'am.
To be clear, those are,
Great, thank you.
they are production lines within the kitchen. Currently in a setup like this, you essentially run an assembly line fashion.
Yep.
So what we'll do is we'll double side that line, dedicate to drive-through, and then the other one will be dedicated to in-house and any of your online app orders as well.
Yes, thank you, that's
By
what I was
line,
trying.
you meant there's two production lines to service those 2 different sort of operational areas.
Yes.
So correct.
And that will, I think, that'll keep wait time, idling for cars,
Yes.
and a lot of other things. That
Yeah.
is sort of a control for those areas.
Yes.
Correct, so 2 sets of staff, but also 2 sets of equipment, 2 sets of, food coming down, because we really want that line to move as quickly as possible.
Yep.
The architect, Jennifer Morgenthau, has an interior floor plan, so if you don't mind, she can approach you and show you where those kitchen lines are designed.
Yes, you need to be near
No,
the
here, I will carry the
microphone.
microphone.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea
Thank you.
operationally.
Could you give me your name and
yes.
spell it for me, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Jennifer Morgenthau, JMA LLC. I'm the architect for the project. And Jennifer Morgenthau is JENNIFER. Morgenthau is MORGENTHAU.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So to give you an idea of what we're talking about is we have people coming in here, coming to the point of sale here, and going out, into the dining areas. You also have people coming from here, from parking. There's a pickup window here. And then you also have your drive-through lane here. You have a pickup window here, or actually payment window here, pickup window here. So you have a staff manning all of this, basically, the windows and everything back here, and you have another staff manning everything that's basically on this half, if that
Got
makes
it.
sense.
Yep, makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Didn't you say there's not going to be pickup for walk-ups? Is this a pickup window for food?
Yeah.
Yes,
For, like,
that's for
to-go
like, mobile
food?
orders.
If you had a mobile order.
Oh, so you will have a
Yeah,
pickup
so
window?
you don't have to come all the way into the store
I
to
see.
pick it up,
My
you can just come
apologies.
right here.
Oh, please,
Hold on.
please.
She's tough.
There is a pickup window, and it was focused on the drive-throughs, and there was not going to be just a pickup window here, meaning the other locations that we've seen for drive-throughs, other fast casual restaurants, will have a dedicated window for drive-through. That
Yep.
typically requires you to have 2 lanes of drive-through, one
Right.
for people who are ordering on site and picking up, and another dedicated to just mobile dash and go, and that we wanted to reduce.
I see.
Where's the window, where's the spot where you give your order to the speaker?
Right here. It's on the northerly side of the property, and we'll speak to that when we start to look at the
Okay,
site.
I don't want to get you out of order, because I knew you were gonna, okay,
Does that clear that up, though?
perfect, we're good.
Okay.
Did you happen to work at the Bridgeport Starbucks?
Unfortunately not. I was with Starbucks in California.
Okay.
So I had a 5-year run there before we came back to the East Coast.
I'm very familiar with that
Are you
one.
very familiar with that one? Yeah, awesome.
It's the highest grossing one, I think, in the country, according to the owner.
It is one of them. I'm sure.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank
We're
you.
good to go?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, they're here, obviously, they can jump in at any time. To go back to this. Okay, so we'll go back to our site plan in just a moment. So we had spoke earlier just about orienting to us to the site, but I just wanted to mention again here with the R&a and the SP zone here. The site is 0.97 acres. It's a nice square rectangle. It lends itself well to the design that's there, obviously, because you all did a very fine job with the development of the bank. And as time does what it always does, is it gives us opportunity to improve things. So in addition to reducing the drive-through, that allows improvements to circulation. And this is quite noisy. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go to reference the landscape, simply because it doesn't have as many notes on it, but it shows us the same. So as Jennifer was just pointing to orient you to the proposed site, is there have been relocations of curb cuts, and that also optimizes in and out. Something that was looked at very carefully in 2006 was how traffic entered the site and then re-entered Route 1 with causing minimal impact. And that was to restrict right-hand turns and left-hand turns so that you weren't crossing the 4 lanes of traffic. That remains here, although because of, there were originally, I should say, in 2005, 4 curb cuts, then reduced to 2 curb cuts. The relocated curb cuts allow for an improvement in both visibility, circulation, and those same restrictions on turns will remain. This also created an opportunity for a greater depth of landscaping in the front and for additional spaces here. You'd asked about employee parking. One of the benefits of having, of removing a drive-through lane allowed for the establishment of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parking spaces on the westerly side of the property. Those are expected to be dedicated to employees, those who are not coming in and out all day and therefore don't create a conflict with the bypass lane on a regular basis. And then the remaining parking spaces are all located on the easterly side of the site, and we have a few back here as well. None of this, and this also creates an opportunity for extended stacking as necessary, but these parallel sites of parking spaces that are here on the north, and then again on the side, pushing the employees for parking purposes to the perimeters of the site and leaving the open spaces for diners more central to the site here. But this really is, as you can see, it's an adaptive reuse. The building has great bones, and to the extent that the exterior can be, it will be reused, including all of the great brick and most of the windows and some of the lighting. The enhancements include a covered patio here, additional sidewalks and wayfinding. We've got the 2 entries, pickup window as well. People are expected to park in the parking lot, move westerly on the site, not to conflict over here. We don't want to invite people from this way and necessarily to cross where the traffic is exiting. And this has been thoroughly thought through, and Richard can speak to you about some of those improvements and how he came to those conclusions. But we did spend 2 meetings with the ARB, and we do have their letter, which is in your record, recommending approval. They made some very smart updates to us, including some changes to the sign. Jennifer will speak to those, what those are specifically. To the signage, to the lighting, we removed a non-conforming illegal pole sign that was in the front that had been there for many, many years, so by virtue of ZBA, and they asked if that could be removed, and well, that was, Mr. Nielsen agreed that that would be an improvement, and so that was also removed. But the entire property has been really is using many of the existing conditions, points of lighting, circulation, and I'd say that all of those have been improved with latest and greatest technology to the extent that it can be. There will be new curbing, new landscaping, everything here is really very much enhanced. So just continue to look at some of these. This is what you'll see straight on from the post road. And I also do want to mention for the record that you are looking at some of this landscaping here. These renderings have not been updated. At the ARB level, we were asked to include updated landscaping, and Matt Pop tonight will go through what some of those updates with you are. So what you're looking here is really our baseline. The building is accurate, but the plantings have since even been enhanced.
Did they do different colors of plantings?
What was that?
Did they make you do different colors of plantings?
I think so. I mean, Matt can tell you everything that we'll do. And this is, you can look here, this is facing east, and you can see the drive-through coming around and the stacking. This gives you both the ability for a pay window and for a pickup window. We'll go back to our site. Okay. Specifically, what we are requesting is a site plan pursuant to 1025, and then special permit approvals under section 1000, 753.N, and 755A. And I just wanted, for the record, to make that clear. And all of those are to permit a restaurant with a drive-through operation and outdoor dining area. That's what those 3 special permits relate to. And the use as a restaurant is a permitted use in the SB zone, and then the drive-through and the outdoor dining components require the additional special permit review. What I think you learned already from Phil and Brandy in their presentation is that they're very forward-thinking. They've anticipated, they've spent this whole year preparing for this application, but have anticipated some of the questions you may ask and that their neighbors may ask. And to that extent, we did take extra steps with both landscaping, with traffic review, and primarily with an acoustical review. And we have our acoustic expert here tonight who will speak to that, because as we expect stacking to go here, the window for ordering, or the sandwich board with the speaker, will be located here. And we did submit to staff on Monday, I believe, a letter, right, Monday or Friday? Monday. A letter that summarizes the acoustical engineer's findings and some of the improvements that she recommends that will be implemented and that we're committing to in terms of the sound box, how to attenuate that sound, other mitigation efforts, which include increased landscaping along the border and replacing the fence. I think we're working on finding this answer. We have proposed to replace the perimeter fence along the northerly property line in kind, which is a 6-foot fence, a wooden fence. That will be replaced exactly and does have some additional noise mitigation properties.
Do you know if it's going to be wood or plastic?
It will be wood.
So I've gone to the site, and it is in disrepair. It's not 6 feet. in all look.
Is it, do you think that it may be taller? We can talk to
I have
what's
pictures of it, it is.
I don't, where.
At certain spots, it's lower.
Okay.
And at certain spots, it's definitely higher.
We'll go as high as the
Well, I'm just
regulations will
saying,
permit
like,
us to.
I mean, the presence, it's in significant disrepair.
Oh, I know, there's a section of this, of the
That's
fence
fallen
that's
down.
completely fallen down in the
Yes.
last year. We're aware of that. We don't have the properties.
No, I know.
We're not in possession of the
It's
property yet, so.
unclear- It's unclear how high the actual fence is, and it appears that a fence has been put on top of a fence.
Interesting, okay.
So clearly, right, that's not an acceptable state
No.
of things, and that is not a precedent for how we expect things to be operated ongoing, so.
I think that's also because the tenant, it was part of its tenant's responsibility to maintain that fence, and it's been vacant for the last several years. So
Understood.
certainly,
I just wanna point that
that
out.
is a point that we're aware of. It will absolutely, we're committing to that. It's on the landscape plan. That being said, what we don't know right now is how high of a fence we can go to. So I know generally in this area, it's 6 feet. Some places we have the opportunity to go up to 8 feet or 10 feet.
Yeah.
To the extent that we can, we will go as high as we are permitted.
Yeah, so where residential properties above commercial properties, the regulations allow for a privacy fence up to 8 feet high. So a fence 8 feet
May I state for the
high could
record
be
that we will
located
go-
along the northern property line there.
Thank you. For the record, our fence will be 8 feet, consistent with what's permitted under the zoning regulations.
Is that what's behind Vacaro's building where Danny's cycle is? Is that thing 8 feet? Splits that house?
I don't recall right offhand.
That's fine. Yeah, so at the end of the day, you want the fence as high as possible.
Yes, we think that's
Yeah.
probably in the neighbor's best interest and that they would appreciate that. And we're prepared to replace it anyway,
Correct.
so we'd like it to be consistent with whatever the highest height is.
And so the sound guy can say it. Me personally, I think wood absorbs sound more than plastic does. But he's that guy, your sound guy.
We'll let her speak to it. She's saying no, there's maybe no difference. But it does.
I'm sorry, please.
That's
We do
okay.
have, again, I want to reiterate, there's a 25-foot additional barrier.
Yep.
That's going to be landscape enhanced, and then we'll also have the fence on top of that. There also is a slight grade difference between here and here. That also helps with the distancing. It's ever so slight, but it does make a difference in the way that the property can be planted and therefore screened. This is slightly lower, so that does have the ability to, there are plantings that are existing, large plantings on the residential side that exist. If you're coming around Richmond, we do have some photos. There are some nice mature plantings, and that creates a nice gradient of landscape levels. I'll speak to that a little bit further as well. So maybe it's a good time, Jennifer, to have you come up and speak a little bit more to the architectural.
Want to do the site plan first? Or do
Oh,
you have
sure.
more to-
That's sure. Richard, we'll take you to come up, and if you can walk us through the site plan, please.
Are you site plan and parking? Is parking a different guy that?
Site plan goes into parking. Neil Linsky is here and he will speak to traffic and parking.
Fantastic.
And they can speak together to the extent they'd
Hi,
like
good
to.
evening. My name's Richard Fontaine, Fontaine.
Thank you.
And I'm with Rich's Civil Engineering. Basically, I just want to be brief and discuss what the basic changes are. The biggest change, what we were interested in is good circulation through for the site. So we took out this entrance here, which was existing, and we moved it over to the side here.
You're facing that and not my microphone.
I'm sorry.
Talking to the board, yeah.
You're speaking, unravel it so people can hold it. Go ahead, it's okay. I'll hold it for you.
Okay. Yes, we're removing this entrance here and relocating it here. Basically, what we're trying to do is, the drive-through area, we like to be like a circular pattern on the outside. Cars can exit right, and through the drive-through, they can come through and also go left. The sit-down patrons we're accommodating with this parking space here and here also. So they're able to go in the building. The other difference that we made is we're increasing the impervious area by eliminating this island that they had at the bank, and also there was a landscape area. So those areas are removed, our imperviousness is increasing.
That's where the 13 parking spaces are going?
Yes.
Got it.
So basically, in order to accommodate that increase in imperviousness, we designed a subsurface detention system. This subsurface detention system will not only decrease the storm peak values for the 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm, but it also will clean it. We're cleaning the water quality volume, excuse me. We're cleaning the water quality volume also as well.
And that's an improvement over existing conditions.
Yes, existing now, they have just one dry well that was in the back corner here, which we're leaving there and cleaning it. But also the whole site is able to be taken up by the new improved water quality subsurface detention that we have there.
And Mr. Ginsberg did mention that in consultation with the town's engineer, that it was observed that there was some debris caught in the system that needed to be cleaned, and that is on the list to be done by Mr. Nielsen articulated. He would take care of that.
And 4 cul-de-sacs on the, I say the eastern half of the property?
Pardon me?
4 cul-de-sacs on the eastern half, 4 chambers?
Yes, right in this corner here.
Yep.
And also I have comments from the DOT. Basically, the DOT would like to see, since we're relocating this entrance here, they'd like to move this catch basin over from the wheel traffic, which I had no problem in doing, and in the next set of plans we'll include that. Thank you.
Another, I just would like to speak to this too, Richard. And one of the site planning, hold on. One of the site planning questions that you put quite a bit of thought into was the location of the refuse bin. So it was in a different location prior to this, and it is located right over here, right here.
Yep.
So so the truck will come in and we'll remove it from here. Again, we're 25 feet away. It's 24-foot garbage enclosure, and it will be enclosed with, I believe it's a wood enclosure here. So it will be attractive to look at from the street. It's not something you'll see that will be unsightly from this location, but also it allows the truck to back in and back out, and those hours, which are consistent with delivery of other materials to the site, will happen during business hours, not in the evening, most likely between 7 p.m. and 10 a.m., subject to the schedule of these. Oh, did I say p.m.? I said right, 7 to 10 a.m. That's what I meant. I'm so sorry. 7 in the morning to 10 a.m. prior to the opening of the restaurant. So there will be no conflict with the delivery trucks on site and with the garbage truck on site, and the time will be sensitive to the adjoining neighbors.
Forgot about that.
It took us a long time to, it took a long time to find the right place for that. So, thank you.
Questions? Jim, any questions for Richard?
Yeah, you said you were increasing the amount of impervious surface.
Yes.
Where do you have the before and after of those numbers? Yeah, so it's just a tiny increase, right?
It's not very.
It's like a marginal increase.
It's marginal
right?
increase.
Okay.
However, we wanted to treat the water quality. So in doing the water quality, we also
Moved it around. Moved the area around, basically.
Yeah, we're basically cutting down the amount of the volume of water coming from our site.
Also a change that impacted, it's a marginal percentage that's changing, but also when we compare the two, you'll have to recall that at the 2006 approval, there was a seven space reduction, and that was replaced with a landscaped island. So that takes into consideration the two. If at any point the bank needed those spaces back, it was expected that those would have been, that landscape island would have
gone away.
reverted, would revert to asphalt, so there may have been no change at all.
Okay, so just so we're all on the same page, the existing site development area is 64.5%. It's going to 65.3%, and the allowable in the zone is 80%. So you're about 15% below.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Karen?
Well, I mean, and wasn't there, I guess arguably or probably asphalt under the landscaped island?
I'm not sure how it was actually designed, because at the time of, it was implemented, special
parking
permit
lot.
asked for the reduction, so it may have just been that it.
But wasn't it a parking lot prior?
Oh, it was, but it was completely demolished when
Okay.
they built it.
So then
all the
so they started from
asphalt.
Fresh Meadow?
Yes.
And I had to, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, way back when, that was the parking lot, it used to be, Chi-Chi's, it was a Chi-Chi's 1,000 years ago. Yeah, yeah, no, you weren't born. Okay,
Thank you so much.
that's all the questions, great.
We can move it, let's keep this up. Neil, would you like to join us? Or I don't mean to propose changes to you, but if you'd like your site engineer to speak after our.
You want to go now? You want to go later?
Yeah, I would just note for the record that the commission did hire Joe Canis of Ty and Bond to review the engineering and drainage aspects of the proposal. Mr. Canis submitted a letter for the record dated April 13.
Want to go down, Joe?
Commenting on the original plan submitted by the applicant, and then Rich Fontaine submitted a response to Mr. Canis's comments on April 22nd. So Joe is here to comment on the application and the changes that Mr. Fontaine made in response to his original comments.
Okay. And then, welcome, Joe. Can you also just comment on Darren Ostafein's letter too?
Sure, absolutely.
Good.
For the record, Joseph Canis, I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. Principal engineer with Ty and Bond. We were retained by the commission for the review of the application for the stormwater management aspects. As Fred said, I had issued a letter. I believe the date was back on April 13th. I had a number of comments, nothing significant that would stop the project, all just basically minor technical issues that I had raised in the course of my review. I did get a copy of the applicant's engineer's response this evening. I did take a look through it. I understand this hearing will be kept open, so I'll issue a more formal response, but it looks like the responses satisfy my concerns. They've committed to address those issues that I had brought up. I like the fact that they are including the infiltration in here because there is an increase in impervious surface. By including the chamber system, what that does, that disconnects that impervious surface, and it also helps the town achieve its MS4 goals. So it's good from that perspective. It's also reducing peak flow. So the maintenance aspect is going to be important, which is why I requested more details on the maintenance of that chamber system, and the applicant has agreed to provide that. This is absolutely headed in the right direction. I'm satisfied with the responses that I've gotten. With respect to Mr. Ostafein's email, I'm in full agreement with the issues that he raised there.
And the only issue we have is he's really not asking for anything, he's just not going to ask build survey is all he really wants, right?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, and an engineer certification.
Yep.
Right, which is standard for, yeah.
And have we experienced any flooding in this area at all? No, not really.
No, to my knowledge, the site hasn't been subject to flooding.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Fantastic. Next.
Thank you, and I will say that the applicant has no objection to the recommendations of Mr. Ostafein as conditions of approval.
Fantastic.
Neil, may I invite you up?
Traffic, right?
Correct.
What traffic? There's no traffic. I think the highlight of this reel is that the conclusion of your report is that there is no negative level of service or change of impact here. But please speak to it.
Good evening. For the record, Neil Olinsky, that's Neollinski.
Thank you.
I'm with SLR Consulting. We have offices in New Haven, in Cheshire, and Glastonbury, in Connecticut. And we did the traffic studies for this proposed development. We produced a traffic study in February 18th. I think last week or a week and a half ago, we got peer review comments from the town's consultant, Hardesty and Hanover. And yesterday, we responded to those comments. I understand that Hardesty and Hanover hasn't perhaps digested them yet, but we have done a number of analyses for traffic. And well, starting from the beginning, one of the first things that we do when we do a traffic study is we try to estimate how much new traffic development is going to generate. And one of the sources we often look at is the Institute of Transportation Engineers, ITE, their trip generation manual, which is a book of statistics on how much vehicle traffic different developments typically generate for different sizes of developments. So development of this type, we estimate, and we've estimated in our studies, it could generate during the busiest peak hours, the Saturday peak hour, for example, 100 vehicles entering and 100 vehicles exiting the site during a single hour. So, you know, it is some traffic. In our original study, we looked at the peak estimated to be during the dinner time hour. That's based on Bird's Code's existing business sales patterns of their store in West Hartford. In addition to that, we, in our response letter, we did a supplemental analysis where we looked at if they generated the same amount of traffic during the middle of the day on a Saturday, lunchtime as well. You know, Route 1 traffic is actually busier during the middle of the day on a Saturday. So we think it's a really good conservative estimate of the traffic that we can expect in the future at and near the site.
Can I ask you a threshold question?
Sure thing.
What's the total number of parking spaces going to be on the site?
30. 30 parking spaces, which we exceed the regulations. by
Jackie,
6
can we
spaces.
just make sure that gets on the site plan? In the zoning block?
Yes, we don't have.
24 spaces required and 30 are provided.
Yes, go ahead, Jason.
Oh, yeah, Jay Klein, Carmody Law. There are 24 spaces, Jay Klein, Klein.
Thank you.
Jay's Jay.
Thank you.
24 spaces required for the restaurant. We have 30. The extra, 6 of the extras are the employee spaces that Jackie mentioned earlier.
So 24 spaces based on quick service restaurant?
Yes, based on the zoning
Okay.
regulation. Yeah.
But I think I heard, and I loved the applicant's presentation. They're kind of distinguishing themselves from being a quick service. But I think they still addressed it, right, by, while we're not a traditional quick service, we have addressed that with production lines and other operational
Yes.
issue,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They've
yeah.
addressed it, so while they don't view themselves as like a traditional fast food quick service.
Right.
Maybe because of these operational
Correct.
issue, you know, 2 lines dedicated to the drive-through and the in-place dining, they can keep their turnover to something that's more akin to a quick service, even
Correct.
if experientially it's a little different.
Correct. That's absolutely right. I know that's something Fred and Jeremy and Jackie and I talked about a lot, and that we felt comfortable for zoning perspective as a quick service restaurant. But certainly not a mega chain that folks might be more familiar with.
Right,
So,
and while it may not experientially be like a traditional quick service, maybe for parking, because of the turnover, because of the operational enhancements, it can fall within that definition for parking.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there, as Phil mentioned earlier, quite they're prompt with their turnaround inside the dining room as well. So,
Thank you.
sorry, Neil, didn't mean to.
Yeah, no
Quick
problem.
service restaurant is generally classified as having counter service as opposed to
Seating.
as opposed to sitting down at the restaurant being served by staff, the staff taking your order and then serving your food.
Yeah, I think we defined it as ordering off a menu board, but please go ahead. You're on a roll.
Right, so to continue with that, yeah. That lends itself to higher turnover. So you don't have waiter service and just, you can accommodate higher traffic volumes because there's quicker turnover in and out of the site. Another thing I'd like to point out is, like really many fast food restaurants, one of the estimates we made is that around half of the traffic that goes in and out of the driveways may very well be traffic on Route 1 that's already passing by. What we call pass-by traffic in our traffic analysis. We did confirm that with DOT. We had to reach out to DOT to see if they would allow that estimate, and they did. Their DOT is going to have to ultimately review this because we're moving the driveways. They're going to have to review for an encroachment permit at some point, the district office. And 50% pass by is based on ITE statistical data as well. So. Question, yes.
So if 20% is normally what's accepted, what was the basis for 50%?
Well, 20%.
I don't know any, you have to literally spoon feed me because I don't understand.
20% is, to be frank, an outdated and very blanket estimate. That was something that the DOT would go by, usually for larger developments, like shopping centers. I think that probably originated 20 years ago. Subsequent to that, the ITE statistics have gotten better and robust, so they have different types of categories of different land uses. And they've looked at the different ones, and they're saying, yeah, maybe a retail shop might have a pass-by credit of 20%. Fast food, these different types of restaurants have a higher pass-by percentage based on statistical counts of other sites really across the country.
And so does the ITE estimate on acceptable pass-through or pass-by percentages, does that take into account quick service? And I'm not saying that this situation falls into the question I'm about to ask, but it's just a question I have. Does a quick service restaurant or a fast food that has an app, does that, under the ITE guidelines, fall within the 50% pass-by?
Well, I should couch that
And when there's an interstate highway that can attract people off of it with their app.
Right, so the ITE does sort of lag behind the real world. So we don't know entirely, we don't have a crystal ball. And
Right.
for example, ordering off your iPhone is very recent, if you think about it. So we don't know exactly how that'll play out. That said, it's still a restaurant. It's still, you're gonna have.
Right, and I think hearing from the applicants earlier today, their app, from what I heard, is not designed like a national franchise restaurant or, quick stop type of place where it's designed to attract customers off of an interstate highway who may not be aware that a location exists, and they're only aware but for the app. Their app, from what I think I heard, is designed not to attract people off of an interstate highway, but to avoid using third-party delivery services, which I think distinguishes it in terms of the traffic it may generate and the validity of the pass-through credit.
Again, Phil Killoran, Bird Code, you're correct. The app now is essentially just replacing customers that were already coming in and walking up to the counter anyway. This location is not designed to be drawing people off the highway. We're not trying to create that congestion. Again, it's designed as a community location. The app is really for the community to build, loyalty points. It's obviously building frequency, but at the same time, it's giving back to them for being our loyal customers for us.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, it totally did. It's a good distinguisher. Because, there's different types of apps and different types of businesses, and you're distinguishable
Yes.
from other quick service And I think your app, where other businesses may not, may create more traffic and not be the normal pass-through because they are attracting people off of an interstate highway who not know you exist. I don't think that's necessarily what yours is designed for.
Well, let's keep on traffic versus getting into the app.
But the app can affect traffic.
I understand. Well, let's let him make his presentation.
Yeah, to continue on. With regard to the traffic study, like we do in every traffic study, we look at we look at the future traffic estimates on the roadways and at the site with and without the new traffic added in. So we did count the area intersections, and we, like in all traffic studies, just about all, we projected the roadway traffic out into the future, and we then looked at two scenarios essentially: the future roadway traffic with and without the new developments traffic added on top. So to cut to the chase, what we found in our analysis, in our original study and then our supplemental analysis, is that focusing initially at the site, yes, there is going to be some delay to get out of the site. Route 1 has a lot of traffic. There's no doubt about it. Like any driveway, unsignalized driveway up and down Route 1, taking a left out of the site, you're going to have some delays during the peak times. Quite frankly, it is what it is.
Just to back up for a second.
Yep.
We're going into the site, left turn, right turn, on the far entrance, which is the eastern entrance.
Which is getting relocated to here.
Correct.
Correct.
And the western or southern entrance, that's only an exit, and it's an exit to the right.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So you can go in and out both ways, but on the drive, and then if I'm leaving the site, and hopefully you get into this, if I'm leaving the site and I want to go east to Norwalk, I'm going out the same way I got in.
Yes, yeah, essentially. So if you're coming from Norwalk,
Correct.
You're going in here, and you can come right back out here. If you go through the drive-through, you have this what is going to be a new, essentially, drive aisle.
Yep.
Doesn't exist today, which will allow you to come back to this driveway to take a left out.
Got it.
So you won't be trapped here taking a right out if you don't want to.
Professional. Okay. And that's put the other one up, just so we know, you're crossing one lane of traffic or two to go left?
To go left, you're crossing 2 lanes of traffic in Route 1.
Okay.
Post road. And you're entering a third, essentially.
Yep.
To go left.
To go left. I'm coming from the east, I want to go back to the east. Okay.
That's correct. Another thing I'd like to point out is, this intersection is awkward. It's sort of old school highway engineering. Some folks who know the site might say, I don't want to wait to take a left out. They do have the option, which is not terrible, to take a right out and to loop around. That, I think, is actually a benefit, all things considered, of the site's location.
Yeah, no, we've dealt with this with where Patriot Bank is, where this is.
I'm sure.
It's many times. You have to get orientated first. Okay.
Right, and so during the busiest Saturday peak hour off-site, what we're looking at is really the only, I'm not going to call them notable, but minor traffic effects from this new added traffic from the bird code. Really, there's going to be some additional delay for these folks taking a left off essentially the off-ramp extension, taking a left, or going straight to the gas station. Which is interesting because we're not even adding any traffic to that movement. It's really the added through traffic on Route 1 from this new development that's contributing to that. And then taking the left up to Richmond, similarly, there's a bit of additional delay for folks to go left up to Richmond. So, did you have a question?
Yeah, I don't understand what you just said.
Which one?
There's going to be a delay, but there's no additional traffic coming from the site.
Correct. So the new bird code traffic is not adding traffic to these movements. This essentially left to go up Richmond.
Right.
Or likewise,
Correct.
this left to go up here. Really, that's a function, again, of the fact that these are unsignalized approaches, and Route 1 traffic has a lot of traffic. So when you add more traffic on Route 1, it just makes it you have to wait a tiny bit longer,
Okay,
maybe a second or so on average.
What's the source of the added traffic on Route 1? Is it the site?
Yes. So
Okay,
it's folks, for example.
then I
taking-
misunderstood you.
Right. So it's folks, for example, taking it right out, going to the ramps or into Darien.
Thank you.
Really, that's the traffic in a nutshell. We looked at sight lines at the driveways. Those check out. They meet the guidelines, the state guidelines. We talked about the site driveways and how there are multiple driveway options, essentially, at least exiting, which is critical. And, the last point I'd like to make is this Bird Coat is not, it's not a Chick-fil-A, it's not a national known brand. So we're not expecting, extremely high levels of traffic in that type of scene here. It's really when you boil it down, it's a fast food, sort of fast casual restaurant.
Okay. I want to hit you with a couple of different questions.
Sure thing.
It relates back to the site, plan also, so and the other, Rich is still here. In terms of signage, right, so go to the site plan, the western exit is pointed to the west, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I bet you $1,000, we're gonna have a sign that says, right turn only.
That's right, and there's signage now that restricts the turns.
That's okay, I mean,
That
Or
will
no
be carried
left
over.
turn.
Yeah, the building's been empty for 3 years,
Yes.
so no one goes in and out of there.
Oh, no, I understand. I just mean that there have been restrictions and those same directional signages will be.
Yeah, we have a right turn
Re-implemented.
only and a stop sign.
One at a time.
I'm sorry, you need to be over by
I'm sorry.
Just have to carry the microphone.
the mic. If you could just repeat that for me, please.
I'm sorry, I was just responding to
Yes.
Commissioner's,
Thank you.
we have a right turn only and stop sign located there.
Okay. And is that exit, it's already points to the west already, but is that being pointed more to the west, or no?
Yes, it already does point to the west as it is now. We're
not
kind of shifting the curb line in a little bit more.
So it's pointing more to the west? A little
Very
bit.
similar to what it is today.
Okay, because I see it on here, where it says remove pavement, right turn only, and stop sign, concrete ramp, blah, 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 stop bar. Okay. And on the other entrance, which is where we're coming in, our new entrance where we can go in and out, is there much signage going to be there?
What do you mean by much signage?
Where it says left turn, right turn, the number
Will there be
of...
directional signage there?
Correct.
We do have a drive-through lane sign up top, drive-through directional sign. And basically, there is no other signs on the site. One-way only sign, we do have on this side, and a drive-through directional sign. So basically, the people can see that it's a one-way only going around this way. So the circulation pattern either goes this way as they go through the drive-through, or on the inside, it follows the arrows. That's why we have the arrows in there to show the directional travel of the traffic.
Perfect, okay, great.
And there's a natural benefit as well to shifting that curb cut. The curb cut currently exists in the center of the site. By shifting it there, it naturally serves as a wayfinding opportunity for people to go to the back of
It
the
really
site.
accentuates
Yes.
the
circulation.
The circulation around the center of the core, whereas the people coming in for sit down, they're concentrated in the middle.
Okay. And another question for Neil. Accident reports. Did you do the research for accident reports?
We did, and I didn't touch on that. But in our February study, we did look at that. We did look at crash history. We looked at the last 3 years between March 2017 and, pre-COVID, I believe, March 2017 and roughly March 1st, 2020. What we did note, and I think we did mention...
Say that again, it went from 17 to 20?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 3 years prior to COVID.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So the Connecticut, what they call the Connecticut Crash Data Repository is really a statewide, repository of crash data, crash reports and things like that. And we looked at that, and You know, one of the things we noticed actually is it's an existing condition, but I think there is, let me just refresh my memory. There was, you know, I guess a higher than expected number of crashes at this westbound off ramp. Really here. You know, it's an existing condition. We're not adding traffic out here. We're adding traffic on Route 1, but not out that turn. You know, it comes back to the fact that it's an existing condition, and we didn't.
An off-site existing
Yeah.
condition that we don't have.
We don't have control
an
over
off-site,
improving
right,
the
we don't-
history of the design.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm looking to make sure if there's any traffic accidents coming out of the HSBC branch when it was rocking and rolling like 6 years ago.
I don't know if we went that far back, to be honest. When did they
Because the last 2 years
close?
don't
We
count.
can look at that down.
We can look that up,
Okay.
yeah. You know, during the 2017 to 2020 period,
That's what matters.
there was only 2 crashes along the frontage, if I'm not mistaken. They were property damage only. One was an angle crash and one was a side swipe, most likely on Route 1.
Okay.
Pretty minor,
We'll
yeah.
let Michael go on to see if that's allowed or not. Okay. Questions? Go ahead, Karen,
So I'm just,
for either one of these two.
so I'm looking at the traffic flow and circulation and the sort of entrances and signage, and I agree, it does look like extending the, you know, in and out curb cut that is sort of moved further east, seems to create a wider and better, for lack of a better word, traffic flow. I guess, so I just want to confirm my understanding. I'm not good at reading and you know, fully comprehending initially visual site plans. Takes me a while. This new pavement that's added with the arrows on it is sort of traffic flow. And so because there's no anticipated left-hand turn out of this westerly curb cut, cars can, I think I heard you guys say, essentially circulate within the site and then exit from the more easterly entrance, egress, you know, that curb cut, is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
basically
is
coming
that?
through the drive-through.
So down
It's not
here,
like the mic.
I'll look at the new pavement down below, go,
Basically, here's your drive-through,
yep,
and we have patrons that come out. They have a choice to go either, if they want to continue to go left,
yep.
or they can take the right-hand turn.
Right, and so then there's this yield word, which I'm guessing is gonna be a yield sign, and so there's gonna have to be some sort of, you know, consciousness of the drivers or patrons that, yeah, I'm driving, there's drive-through people here, we're gonna have to figure out who goes first, because there's only,
Exactly. Basically, we're yielding this is considered the bypass lane. We don't anticipate too many people bypassing because the food's so good. However, if there's that by chance, that person that does go out, they must yield to the person coming from the drive-through.
okay.
So we were concerned, you know, we didn't want to have any.
Be a sign or something. Okay, and then it looks like there's is that a walk path? For the
Yes.
people who might then walk up to the
Yes.
walk-up window?
That's a crosswalk there, and
So-
they're also, we're yielding the.
Will there be signs like maybe stop for pedestrians, not yield? We
We can ensure that has that wayfinding sign there, and that's also important too, because we do have some parking spaces there. So for safety and wayfinding, to always have that marked up, that helps people slow down.
Yeah.
Just the visual, it helps them slow
Right,
down. We
the
can put maximum
crosswalk.
amount of wayfinding signage such as
I
that
just-
suggestion.
Yeah, I think
Let's
because
add
there's
that to
gonna
the
be,
site plan.
I don't think it's gonna be, because we don't have a lot of drive-throughs, and we don't have a lot of drive-throughs with walk-ups. I think signage and visual cueing will be really important, especially in this location where there's less pedestrian activity than there are in the, you know, Darien downtown or Norotan Heights area. I think drivers may not be as used to anticipating pedestrians. And I think this is a great feature, and I suspect it'll be used. I don't know, obviously I don't know anything, but like, I think visual cueing and signage, because people around here may not be used to that, is probably important.
I think an expectation as well, to that point, is that for the pickup window,
Yeah.
is that one would park in this area. We come in
Oh,
here,
and then walk.
park here, and then you
Oh.
have the ability to walk
the
across this
side.
sidewalk.
Got
We have
it.
a nice, you can see
Yeah,
it
this-
a little bit better. I like this. This is a good image. This is a little bit easier to access. So while you can do this, the expectation is that those angled parking spaces here, which are right on this side here,
Yes.
are going to be occupied by staff during the day.
By
Yes.
employees,
So
right.
it won't be inviting people to park here.
No.
So one would park over here, walk
Right,
across
but
this sidewalk.
There's also there's a bus route right there, and there's there's a bus
This is
stop.
the sidewalk, people will be using.
No,
it.
but I'm saying there's a bus stop on 90, on Post Road. There's a stop right there. And there's a lot of people who work at the 2 car washes, who work at the car dealership, there's a lot of people who work around there. And I don't know, maybe they might walk.
My
Get lunch.
kid's gonna walk
I
outside.
work not too far, and there's residential, so, as a mother of teenage boys, and I grew up in an area where people walked more. My kids find it cool when they go to Long Island. They're like, "Oh, people ride their bikes here, and kids walk to stuff." I think this, and so I like that there's signage for pedestrian walk because it may encourage people abutting a residential neighborhood or workers at area locations. They may not park in this area. They may just walk over, and maybe they might go to the pickup
They
window.
may, so will look at that, since we have some time, we'll make sure to add in some signage here that
I think
enhances
just a
that.
cue drivers, because it's not something I think people are used to here.
It's a good suggestion, thank you.
Okay. You good, Rich?
Yep.
Okay. Good. Yeah, sorry.
I got a couple minor things. The drive-through directional sign looks like it's set back from where you're gonna have the disposal, area. Is that gonna be blocked by where you're gonna have the dumpster pad? Because you said you're gonna have fencing around it, right? It looks like it's back.
It's on the side of the fence.
It's, on the front of the fence?
There's a little island there. There's a little island next to the dumpster.
Right, but is the fence that's gonna block off the dumpster gonna come further out? So it's sort of like, if you're trying to go straight and then go left,
So it's a little bit easier to read this.
yeah, so like if you come in here and you're going this way and you're trying to go that way, it's gonna be hard to see this sign because that corner is gonna block you, right? You're
We
gonna,
didn't
you're
think
putting,
so. You think this is set back too far?
that's what I'm
We'll
wondering
look-
if that's set
we'll do
back
a
too
sightline
far,
study of that
exactly.
too, and sure.
One at a time, please, one at a time.
If you're coming in hard right, you're coming in on this queue because there's cars coming to queue out, so you're driving right here. That might be tough to know, oh, I've got to go that way. I
Well,
mean,
pretty much we have another sign that's here that's drive-through, and it directs them in. And once they get to this point, they'll see this sign also.
Oh, I didn't see this one right here. Okay.
So there's 2 of them. It's kind of like, yeah, you're in the right direction, you're getting hot, then we send you this way.
Okay. And then my other question was on the 100 in and out at peak. Did you do any analysis as to like the makeup of what those are? That 100 is 30% drive-through, 15% pickup, and 55% sit-down, or what?
We didn't really break it down that much, to be honest. For the traffic analysis and levels of service analysis, things like that. Really, we don't need to drill down that hard. We just look at the total traffic coming out of the driveways.
Yeah, I think it's more to the parking, because if you have 30 spots, and you said you have 12 employees plus a supervisor, right? So you have 13 of the 30 taken up, but you have capacity for 76 people. At peak, that's 17 spots for 76 people, which sounds like you're gonna need more parking. It sounds like it's gonna be tight. At peak, it sounds like it's gonna be tight in this lot, with cars driving around in a circular flow. Almost all of the spots taken by the drive-through window with employees, you really are looking at 13 plus 7-ish for just your like people who are going to be, you know, using the place. So if 10 of those are for people who are constantly picking up and leaving and picking up and leaving, that might not be a big deal. But if your flow is mostly like sit down and you only anticipate of those 100 trips, 5 to be quick pickup window, walk in, get your food, leave, you're out of there in 5 minutes type of thing, it might start to get busy in here. That's my only concern.
No, it's a big concern. I like this guy. Now, the other, related to that, you gotta figure out how many people are in a car. I mean, it's not like it's 76. You don't have 76 seats, you don't have 76 cars.
Yeah, I mean, even if you divide it by 4, you're still looking at more people than parking.
Even with those 76 seats, if a diner is individual, there.
You jam everybody up, yeah.
No, I'm just thinking on the interior of the building, that while there may be seats that accommodate that number up
Yeah, I
to
see what you're saying.
76, if I come in and I'm dining
You're not
alone,
sharing.
I might sit at a booth that accommodates 4, and the stranger's probably not gonna come and join me. But the expectation, I'd like you, Neil, to speak to the ITE on it, but from a zoning perspective, the requirement for this particular use,
Yeah.
although I do think it's also valuable to look at this particular user, but it does meet and exceed the zoning code. So we do meet that under the site plan purposes of this for the interior number of seats. So that is a compliant standard, but also has been right-sized in the site itself with the prospective tenant and landlord has been right-sized. So having the additional 6 spaces beyond the 24 that are required by zoning does accommodate a higher amount of staff and a potentially higher number of diners at peak hour. And I think if you'd like Phil to talk a little bit about his experience with the people who he expects to come, I can say that he is backed into a site like this because it can be managed. Certainly, when things open, people are excited. They don't know where they're going. If you drove by there probably the first week, it may be it may be full and
first week will always be tough.
overflowing. But ultimately, this number has been right-sized, we think, both by zoning and by the operator, and it will be manageable. But then,
Okay, so Neil, how do we handle 76 seats and 17 open parking spaces in your study? Right, the parking is 30 minus 13 employees, right? You get 17 net. Is that right?
That sounds right. Again, we didn't do a micro-analysis, but what you find with fast food, quick service type of restaurants is the turnover. People are in and out 5-10 minutes. It's a fairly constant turnover. You're very unlikely to have everybody show up at the same time, try to sit down and eat a 30-minute meal, and then try to leave at the same exact time. So they're all filling up the same parking spaces. You know what I mean? And it goes back to what Attorney Kaufman was saying. The operators, they don't want to build a site that is not going to work for them.
Right, but we have a lot of softball teams and baseball teams in town. I was a coach. I used to bring my entire softball team to like a Shake Shack after the game. And they all got Darien jerseys on.
You know,
there's 14 kids on the softball team.
I think that could happen.
And they play on Friday nights.
It could happen from time to time.
I just want to know how you handle it in study is the end of the day.
Sorry, what was that?
How it gets handled inside the traffic study.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, Phil Killoran, Bird Code. In my current location in West Hartford, we have 35% of our consumers are delivery. 45% are actually coming in through the door, and the remainder are app orders. Industry-wise, when you put a drive-through in, the standard's about 70% of your consumers hitting your drive-through. I expect to be below that for sure because we're not Chick-fil-A, we're not McDonald's, we're not that. I expect to be below that, but I don't expect to be anywhere below 50%. So that alone should mitigate some of that impact. I'll let Neil speak to that a little bit more. But that's in West Hartford now. We turn on a Saturday, we turn 600 tickets on 12 parking spaces. Sufficiently. So, and it's just turn time.
So your business, you think it's going to be 50% drive-through?
I think it'd probably be about 50% drive-through during our busiest periods. Those initial times when you open, that first month or so, people want to come in, they're going to do that experience. Once you've come in once, your next 3 times are likely going to be drive-through or delivery, and then maybe again you'll come back with some friends to sit down. To your point, you bring a softball team, something like that. That happens. It happens here and there, but as I said earlier, a lot of our technology helps us predict that. In turn, we can turn those tables much quicker.
We usually win when we won.
Say it again?
We usually win when we won the game.
Oh, of course, if you lose.
You're gonna have to serve alcohol in here, right?
Yes.
So your sit-down time is probably gonna be longer than if you didn't have alcohol.
We serve it in West Hartford now currently too.
Okay.
And generally, what you find in this type of establishment with alcohol is the consumer purchases one beverage.
Yeah.
It's, I'm having a meal,
Right.
I'm having that, but people are not sitting there to drink 4, 5, 6 beers. We're not, Bar Taco over here. So,
People do a Shake Shack though.
yeah, it's every once in a while that does happen. For the most part, generally, that's not the way it is.
Okay.
Awesome. I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is we have a couple more weeks. This is going to get continued. We can look into it a little bit more and try to get you a little bit more of an answer in the interim. Correct.
Can you just go over the letter from the state from
Sure.
November 6th? There's nothing jumped off the page, but I want to make sure that we just addressed it.
Yeah, those are mostly site plan. Rich, would you mind coming up?
Yeah, the scale graphic to the plan, you move the catch basin, we talked to that.
Yeah, basically basically the biggest issue, as I said previously, is this catch basin. They'd like to see this moved.
Okay.
And they'd like to see more of the street and a few more of their details in, which is not a big deal.
Okay. So the Department of Transportation's more towards the site plan versus the traffic count? Okay.
Yes. They're looking, we're getting an encroachment permit. We're working on their land.
Okay.
And they made their comments on what they'd like to see, and I have no issue with them.
Okay. Did we get a sign off from Chief Anderson? He commented on it?
We did refer the application to Chief Anderson.
That's a local traffic, or the legal traffic.
Or legal traffic authority. Let me just go through the file and make sure that there was no specific comments from him.
Okay. Jim, do you have any questions in the interim? You good? You guys are good, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Michael, when are you gonna go? Okay, fantastic. Okay, stick around, Neil.
Sure.
I would just say for the record that the commission did hire Mike Galante of Hardesty in Hanover to review the parking and traffic aspects of the proposal. Mr. Galante submitted a letter for the record dated April 12th, which was responded to by Neil Alinsky of SLR on April 25th, which was just received a day or two ago. We had forwarded the comments to Mr. Galante, and he, of course, hasn't had much of an opportunity to take a look at the comments, but we expect Mike to respond in the coming week or so ahead of the next public hearing. And Mike, why don't you take it away?
Great, thank you. Mike Galante, Hardesty in Hanover. It's nice to be in person.
Welcome back.
Maybe. You may know Greg Del Rio from my office. He was at one of the other hearings for a different application recently. Greg's been somewhat involved with this. He's here really tonight to really kind of be part of the team and listen to what's going on. I'll be brief, but we started with the first report from Neil's office dated February 18th, which was a full traffic report. We had comments, as mentioned, on April 12th, where we had preliminary comments. We wanted to pass them along to the applicant sooner than later so they can respond. And they were kind enough to have a report last night responding. So that's why we're not finished tonight. And all kidding aside, we're not drawing any conclusions tonight at all. We did go through the letter that we received late. Yes, I saw it last night about 7 o'clock for the first time. And then they sent it off to our office today. So they didn't want to give us too much time to review it, actually. But all kidding aside, we had a lot of comments in the last letter. They have addressed a lot of those comments. They're very specific to site traffic generation, passed by credits, if you will, and I'll touch on that in a minute. Details within the capacity analysis procedures and inputs. In their response letter report last night, they have responded to a lot of those comments. They provided supplemental analyses, worst-case scenarios. I might add that their site traffic generation is based on a fast food restaurant. So, in all honesty, it might be on the high side. It's 100 to 200 trips in a 1 hour period. I have not reviewed the internal circulation as far as queuing of vehicles for the drive-through, but we will. The comment about, how many spaces are enough, that's part of what's happening in the owner or operator here mentioned 70% of the traffic is probably a drive up. I would agree with that. That's the number I had written down already that I was going to offer tonight. So that has a direct impact on the number of parking spaces needed. And those parking spaces, as Neil, I believe, mentioned, and the owner mentioned about 5-minute turnover. A fast food type of operation, even though this might be casual, short-term sit-down, call it whatever you want, the turnover is very quickly. So those parking spaces are going to be occupied by multiple cars during that 1 hour period. Multiple cars, not just a couple. I'll just touch on, and we're going to actually, respond to the letter we received last night before the next hearing. And we'll either have more comments or we'll be signing off. We're not ready to sign off just yet. But one concern I have is on the pass-by credit. The standard in Connecticut DOT for probably 20 years, Neil, you're probably right, is 20%. More recently, ITE has done a lot of research on different types of lane uses that generate a pass-by credit type of use, whether it's a gas station, a fast food, a shopping center, whatever it might be. And they have rates that go as far as, I think for a gas station, might be 70%, for example. SLR use 50%. They have an email from Connecticut DOT Planning Division that agrees with 50%. But I got one better. We have an email from the same group about a week or two before that says use 20%.
So just so everyone's on the same page, pass by 20% means 20% of your customers are gonna come from drive-bys.
They're already on the road, and they
Okay.
decide, well, I see this restaurant, I'm going to get a chicken sandwich, or whatever it
Because
might
the
be.
sign's great and it looks really cool.
Yeah, so
20%
for
of
whatever
them-
reason, they're already on the road. It's not a destination trip from home to
Right.
go get a chicken dinner, for example.
So if you go to set 50% or 70%, that's even more traffic. So he's being conservative using 50.
No, it's the other way around, because by
Oh,
using
okay.
50% credit, if you have 200 trips, half of those trips are already on the road.
Okay.
We're saying the 20% is really the right rate to use, whether the, email from DOT planning is 50% or 20%, we've always used 20%. I'm not saying 50% is wrong, I'm not saying that, but if you use the 50% pass-by credit, you remove 60 vehicles from the road system in that analysis. Those 60 vehicles are at the driveway no matter what, because that's a car going into the restaurant. But if I'm down 3 intersections away, and let's say everyone's come from Norwalk, for example.
Well, let's get real. If I'm at Chick-fil-A and the line is out the
Oh, it's never too long there.
I go there all the time and pass right by it. So
Yeah.
I come to here instead, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways of talking about it, but it's a new trip in my mind if you're coming from another establishment.
So you would rather see it at 20% to be more conservative?
Well, I think the 20% is a more realistic number. It gives you a more conservative result of analysis. And mentioned was the intersection, and my concern really is the driveway exit is operating with delays, which is any driveway along Post Road, without a doubt. Stop sign control. The left turn takes longer to exit than a right turn. So if it's a one-lane exit, keep in mind. So if there's a guy in front of you making a left turn and you're hoping to make a right, you're waiting behind that one car. So that delay gets longer. The concern that was mentioned before, if I can still
Wait, do
remember.
that again? It's a two-lane.
It's only a one-lane exit.
It's one
So
exit.
left
Okay.
and right turn movements are in the one lane.
Actually, westerly.
The westerly driveway, which is a two-way driveway, one lane in, one lane out. So
The easterly driveway.
Yeah, it's a one-lane exit.
Yep.
And a one-lane entrance. So if you're making a left to go back to Chick-fil-A,
Right.
and I'm hoping to go into downtown Darien, I have to wait behind you. So the delay at the driveway is fairly long. It's the only movement out of the entire analysis of 6 intersections that is a level service F, I believe, during the Friday afternoon or Friday evening time period.
But in theory, I would have used the drive-through exit.
Maybe, but don't forget all the parking's at the easterly driveway.
Right.
So that person needs to kind of plan ahead, and I'm sure someone will, especially if they go here more than once or twice. They'll learn to use the drive-through exit, if you will, which is a right turn only,
Okay.
which I think everyone here probably would do. But one of the concerns we have is, and you mentioned it, about the intersection of the 95 north, southbound off-ramp and the double intersections, which we've always talked about over the years with different applications. That had 22 accidents in that 3-year period that Neil mentioned, 22 at the combination of the both intersections.
Close to the Patriot Bank?
The exit off of 95, the southbound exit.
Okay.
Okay, that stop sign control,
Yeah, I know what
2
you're
stop
talking
signs,
about.
if you
Yep.
will. If you want to come downtown towards Town Hall and you didn't use exit 11, you got off at exit 13, stop at the eastbound lanes, if you will, and then stop at the westbound lanes and you make your left turn, or you go
Right.
straight into the gas station. So that's a concern we have with the number of accidents, and we'll be looking at that a little bit more. We've had lots of discussions with other applications over the years. There's no great solution, but, we need to, think about this a little bit more. And the pass-by credit.
But now, I'm sorry, 1 second. The 22 accidents you're talking about, those are accidents coming off of the southbound ramp that are
95
going to downtown Darien versus.
No, they might be going either way. There's 2 intersections, don't forget.
Right.
Just your
Or the
first
gas
it-
station.
Or a gas station. So you have 3 choices. You turn
Straight
right
right
to
and
go
left.
towards Norwalk, turn left to go towards Darien, and third is go across to the gas station.
But if we're going to Bird Code, we're making a right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Now, I don't have the breakdown of accidents per intersection. Maybe you do, Neil? I don't know.
Mostly at the westbound.
The westbound side? Yeah, well, that makes sense. So it's the second intersection,
Right,
if you will.
that's where I
which-
was getting stuck.
And, if you have 2 cars in that median, you're hanging out the back.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so we need to look at that a little bit more. The pass-by credit, where we have a concern with that, but they've addressed pretty much almost all the comments we have so far. I'm not going to sign off on it yet because we need to review the information provided last night, but they certainly provided the analyses. They looked at the worst case. My opinion is they're using the fast food restaurant volume for site traffic, which I think is on the high side, most likely. And we'll be ready before the next meeting with I don't want to call it a final letter, but maybe a final letter.
Okay. How does this compare to Shake Shack? Because, for the record, Michael signed off on Shake Shack, and Michael also signed off on,
Blame me.
the other big one was Equity One, which was where Trader Joe's is. That's, we
Oh, okay.
configured that whole
Yeah.
shopping center.
Yeah. Yeah, Shake Shack, that's been a few years now. I think the biggest concern there, other than pulling out of the driveway and turning left out of the driveway, go towards Stanford in this case.
Right.
And the internal parking and the activity within that parking lot, it's kind of a dead-end parking lot.
Yes.
This proposal is not a dead-end parking lot. There's circulation.
Right.
So it's really completely different,
Okay.
okay?
But-
But good comparison for
Yeah,
reference
I want to make sure
purposes.
we're being smart by looking at both
Yeah,
of them.
yeah, this has circulation, so there's no dead-end aisle, which I think is very, very important. And you have the opportunity of the bypass lane around the drive-through to get around the whole thing.
Multiple curb
It's,
cuts.
it's a very good layout.
Okay.
But we'll be looking at the signing, the pavement markings, and part of our next review will have that information in there, what we're
Okay.
recommending.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where we are at the moment,
Fantastic.
okay?
Neil, one last thing before I turn it over to these guys again. Sure. Talk to me, I get the whole, we're not gonna use Uber Eats and DoorDash and whoever those other people are, but where do these Uber Eats, DoorDash people park, go and get their stuff, and operationally, are they going to the pickup window, or are they going into the store?
That's a good question. I don't want to kick the can, but Phil, you probably have a better idea what you plan
You're
on
allowed to
doing.
kick the can.
All right. Again, Phil Killoran, Bird Code. So the Uber Eats people would be coming to the pickup window. So the expectation would be you pull into the parking lot, come over, you pick up, and you're out of there. If you look at what we're currently doing in our location now, most of the time we're turning somebody like that in under a minute. Now granted, our parking spots there are very close to the window. So here, a little bit more walking distance, but it's about 2 minutes. You have a 15-minute prep time on these, so the orders are set before these guys show up. So it's just basically come to the window, toss it out to them, turn them around, get them out of there. And again, like I reiterated earlier, we're not really looking to use those.
No,
We
I
like
get
to
it.
stay away from it as much as possible.
Okay. Because the other one that's an example, and I go there, is Chipotle. That's the other one that should be on your list. Chipotle's got, a table or a rack where the guys come in and out, grab it and go.
Yeah, we prefer to ensure that our team is handing it off just from a quality perspective and just essentially getting them to confirm it and providing great service to the customer in the end.
Well, I think the difference, right, between both Chipotle, Shake Shack, and this proposed location is like Mike just brought up, those are dead-end parking, like the parking situation, it doesn't flow, there's no circular, there's no flow, there's no drive, and, right, it's three-point turns, and so I feel like their only option is to put it up, to get those cars out as fast as possible, because
Yeah, those, I
parking
mean,
lots are not.
those things, for the record, those are working. There's
Yes.
no major problem at, Chipotle, Trader Joe's, or Shake Shack. And all three of those only have one curb cut. You've got two curb cuts.
If I can speak to one other piece of this real quick. Sure. So the drive-through will mitigate the delivery. So as I said earlier, 35% in my current store. I'm expecting, if we were to do it, 15%. We shouldn't have any more than that, and that's pretty consistent with drive-through operated concepts at this point. So, all right, Neil.
Anything else for Neil? We're good? Okay, you good?
Yeah, Steve, I'm not seeing anything in the record regarding comments from Chief Anderson at this point. We'll have to take a quick, deeper look at that and see if there is in fact something that should be on the record.
Jackie, did you say he went up to West Hartford?
Oh, no, chief of police.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes. Oh, I was thinking about the fire marshal. No, yes, he went up there. Apparently, they had a nice time. Jeremy said that they had a nice time. There weren't any comments, but we should check with him to see if there are.
Okay.
I know that there were some comments from the fire marshal, and Jason has been trying to reach him on those. It has to do with fire truck capacity and the height of the canopy. So we will ensure that meets his standard, but we won't belabor it with comment tonight. We'll just get to him personally and follow up with you before the next meeting.
Who's next?
Next, landscaping. Actually, let me ask, do you have any questions about any exterior changes to the architecture? Jenny's here, she's happy to take you that while we're still talking a little bit about the physical plan.
She's cool. We'll talk to,
Let's bring that up.
I went there, I only got a bottle of water.
You got a bottle of water in West Hartford?
There's water, would you like a bottle of water?
No, you went to West Hartford.
I went up to West Hartford on Friday.
Oh, you went to the restaurant?
All I got was a bottle of water.
Good evening, Matthew Pop, POPP, Environmental Land Solutions. I prepared the landscape plan before you. This plan is based off a landscape design that was prepared by the development team, and that plan was approved by the ARB. So my task was just mainly to finalize it, come up with the plant list, the sizes. I did make a few minor changes, like in front of the building. They had an ornamental grass that grows like 8 feet tall. I don't think they wanted the building block. So we have our lower ornamental grass along the front. They also had an evergreen shrub, mountain laurel, that would be probably too tall. So we had something lower so that you could see into the site. I'd just like to point out trees to be removed. There's a bunch of them shown on this plan, but I didn't realize it until after the plan was prepared. A lot of those trees are actually shrubs that are being removed. So I kind of pulled them off the other, the development plan. So I think there's about maybe 7 trees to be removed or so on site, mainly along the parking area here. We're proposing 10 deciduous trees, in the parking lot along the streetscape. And then in the back, we have 9 evergreen fir trees in the back.
So those are all new?
Those
1,
are all
2,
new.
3, 4, 5,
So
6,
there's
7,
9 in the back,
8, 9.
10 in the front, so 19 trees or so. That's it quickly, but yep.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of evergreens in the back?
A fir tree.
Oh, nice.
So that was approved by the ARB, so they kind of want to keep that consistent. Mainly the tree types, most of them were the same. So,
thank you.
But,
The separation between the patio and the parking area? Is that a planter there? And maybe a wall?
That's a planting strip, yes, and that's a low evergreen.
Right, I'm talking about this.
The other side.
Okay.
Where the tables are going to be.
The
east
patio.
side.
Yes, right there.
No, the east side. That's right
Bingo.
there.
Yeah, right for here.
Same
Yes,
thing.
and that's just a low evergreen,
Plant
these
strip.
small heads.
And we're,
The main changes I made were kind of
okay.
like in the shrubs in here, just the types.
Okay, so that we have a,
It's like more realistic to the picture.
aluminum fencing there, and did that the bike rack makes it on the thing too. Okay, you got your boys at the bike rack.
I don't think they know how to use a bike rack, but just toss it.
Any
You
questions
have
for
teenage boys,
Matt?
you know what I'm talking about.
Any questions for Matt?
Very
Fantastic,
good.
good.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to invite Perik Chain up, who is our acoustical engineer. Perik would like to come up and just review some of the highlights. I think you can work off of this plan as well.
Hi there, Perry Chain for the record, Perichain.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm an acoustic consultant with SH Acoustics out of Stanford. We moved recently, so it's kind of funny to say. I also work from home, so it's really nice. It's nice to be in person. I'll say that, not cooped up. So, I mean, we wanted to focus primarily on the specialty uses of this space, of this property, beyond any commercial property that might exist. And that would be mostly focusing on the drive-through. I know we're trying to take a proactive approach here and make sure, like that's why Phil and Randy brought me in, is let's make sure that we are only making a positive impact on the surrounding area. So primarily taking a look at the residential adjacencies that we have here. If we have the drive-through coming around the back with the kiosk where you're going to be placing your orders, the primary issues that you might have there are the speaker, any car noise that you might find. So to start, talk about the speaker. There is no reason that it has to be loud. It has to be intelligible. That's the most important thing. And I will say relative to code, it actually speaks to that very well. To just get into the nitty-gritty for a moment here. With the primary operation occurring during the day, we're looking at a code limit of, this is Connecticut State Code, that's what Darien references, of 55 A-weighted decibels, which is actually very appropriate for spoken word. It's actually tuned to the ear, the human ear. So with that said, now, okay, there's going to be all sorts of spots in Darien. One might be much quieter than the other. This, on Route 1, near 95, has a higher background or ambient noise level. Code takes that into account and says, well, if your background level is higher than that 55 dBA, how could you possibly ever meet that, right? So they say you have a 5 decibel allowance beyond that. So if you guys if you've dived into the report at all, I'm not going to go through every single point here, but that's where we get this, you'll see a 66 dBA because of when I went there, did long-term measurements, found that our ambient noise was averaging at about 61 decibels A-weighted. So we get that 5-point allowance. Us speaking, if I came closer, I want to honor social distancing here and things like that. If I was about 3 feet away from you, that'd be about 60 dBA, me talking about this much. To put that in perspective. So that said, your typical background noise levels from traffic and things like that are going to help mask my voice, especially at the properties even nearby. Plus, you have a fence. The one in our analysis to support a conservative effort here, we didn't account for any attenuation of the fence because it's in disrepair. There's holes in it. The sound's going to go, path of least resistance. But understanding what the applicant is trying to do here, replacing the fence. To answer the question about the material from earlier, the most important thing is the mass of the material, and typically I've found that typical wood fences, like what they're going to replace in kind, are going to be more massive. That's going to prevent the sound from passing through. That's the that's the metric you want to look for, is the sound attenuation going through and what's going to happen over. So to hear that you're going to have it and possibly have an 8-foot allowance, and I believe that you guys have agreed to do whatever the limit would be, is going to help all that much more. So back to the speaker just for a moment. I kind of digressed there. The importance of intelligibility, getting a crisp sound that it's just going to, you're not trying to yell over the traffic. Fortunately, you have the car, the proximity of the car and the speaker, you're going to have focusing. We'll use a point source speaker. which has a conical shape to it, so it's not spreading out all over the place, over the fence. It's meant to focus just on appropriately to the car. We're not gonna get any sort of rinky-dink speaker that's gonna have this awful tone to it. It's going to be calibrated appropriately so that the sound is clear, crisp, easy to hear, so you don't have to compensate with volume. That's the most important thing. Another point that I'd like to put out there is that the speaker in that calibration is not going to be, I'm sure that you guys hire the best there is, but not Joe Schmo's not going to be able to go over and say, I need to turn this up. That'll be up to your guys and their operation of the space to make, there'll be a key, some will figure in a safeguard that this is tuned, if I'm the one there calibrating or a technician from the speaker company, figure that out so it is appropriate and make sure that at the property line we're not exceeding the allowable noise levels.
If I can add to that too,
Absolutely.
something that we spoke about is that Phil and Brandy can also be trained in that. It's not something that they would put onto, possibly you as well may be trained in that, but there will be a limited number of people that have access to be able to modify it, but there will be someone at all times so that if it was in any way offensive, someone who is on site has the ability to immediately recalibrate it at any point.
Or call me.
Would you recommend additional bushes at the area near where the speaker is?
The fence is going to do the bulk of the work, I will say. So I'm happy to hear that that's what the applicant has agreed to do.
Okay, so if you put more bushes in the area that doesn't absorb sound or anything like that?
It does a little bit, but because if you were talking 0 to bushes, I'd say, that's going to have a more appreciable effect. But since we already have this safeguard of a physical barrier, that's going to do the bulk of the work.
Okay. Questions for, good? Nope. Good?
Most of the cars that drive through there and utilize the speaker are gonna be sedans, because most of the cars around, not too many people drive convertibles anymore. Does the applicant get any credit for the fact that he's got a 3,500-pound automobile between the speaker and the neighbors?
Absolutely.
See?
Yeah, so with the focusing of the speaker picture, the open window, and it focused to be within that space, you're going to have not only the barrier effect from the fence, but the car itself. Our analysis, taking a look at that, again, didn't include any of these additional safeguards. So the fact that we're below the allowable noise levels without any of those barriers is golden. We looked at, worst case scenario, if it's going to work in that worst case.
It'll work.
It'll work.
Giant SUV.
Yeah.
I drive a Hyundai Tucson. That's what a lot of the sources were. So pretty average, run of the mill.
I just had a question. When you say engine turnover for noise, that's just an idling engine that...
I turned on my car.
Oh, so that's an on-off. That's what because most cars now have the stop-start.
Absolutely.
So I can see that cars waiting in line will be constantly starting and then stopping.
That was the idea of running that
that's what
part
that
of the
means.
test, because though my car doesn't do it, got a 2019, the next year would have gotten me there. But so many of the cars, they have that feature where the engine shuts off when you're sitting idle. So I wanted to make sure that we anticipated that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how far is this speaker off the ground? Do we know how far it's going to be and how far should it be? You don't want 8 feet high.
I'm trying to remember, because
About like 3.5 or 4 feet, if you think about it.
Onyx said,
what
that's
we
why I
kept-
want,
we keep-
but it was within the window. We can certainly find out. But that could also be customized if we needed to vary that at all.
Okay.
The reason why it matters, to Jim's point, the higher it is on the building, the sound could go over the car.
Right.
The lower-
Typically, if you're sitting in the car, they're within, like towards the bottom of the window on a crossover. That's what it
Right.
was when I drove through a Starbucks earlier today.
Right.
It was like here. But we would make sure that the car is going to provide some appreciable attenuation for the car itself.
Because this speaker is not at a window, it's at just a menu board.
Right. I'm sorry, when I said window, I meant the car window. Relative to that.
I got
yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else for the acoustic person? Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
That's great
Here we go.
stuff.
Actually, we do have, Phil just handed me
excellent.
an elevation of the menu board, which I can submit into the record, and it looks like it The menu board is 4 feet 6 inches, so it is probably roughly 3.5
Off the ground?
off the ground.
Good, okay. Good,
Thanks very much.
Thank you. What do you got next, Jackie?
Jason?
Yeah, I think, thanks for listening to our entire team. Oh, sorry, Jay Klein, one more time. Sorry about that. And I'm sure, we have some neighbors, I think, who'd like to speak as well. We received a neighbor letter earlier today, and we were glad to receive that. We were able to put together a written response to the comments that the neighbor provided via email. But I think a lot of the answers, when you're looking over this in between, this hearing and next, you'll see, oh, that's right, I remember Perry talking about the noise attenuation impacts. I remember Matt talking about the 9 evergreen trees in the back. So it's kind of all a synthesis of all the high points here. So we'll provide that to you all, to supplement the neighbor's.
Okay. So you're all set, Jackie, for now?
Yes, thank you very much, and we're happy to hear from our neighbors or additional questions from the board.
Okay, for the record, we're going to move up to public comment. Oh, did we want to hear from the architect again? She square, any questions for her? No? Okay, good. For the record, we got 2 letters, or I got 2 letters from a gentleman that lives at 33 Richmond Drive, Debbie and Brian Pretite, and another one from Karen Gillen at 31 Richmond Drive. Do you have any more else that you have?
That is all we have.
Okay, fantastic. Would anyone in the general public like to speak to this application? Go ahead, sir, welcome. Please come right up, sir.
Please, sir, and introduce yourself.
Kordas. I live at 35 Richmond Drive. It's right in back of the proposed restaurant. My main concern is the noise from the cars. From the cars, the people ordering food, pollution.
Yep.
If you want to put a 10-foot fence up, that sounds good to me, instead of the 8-foot.
That's serious. I mean, the height of the fence, does it matter to you at all? I mean, because there's 3 houses back there. There's Mr.
Exactly.
Golden at 37.
This is
You're at 35.
It's right here.
And
That's me right here, yeah.
This is Mr. Cordes' property.
Yep. He's the closest person.
I've been here 43 years, and it's nice and quiet.
Okay.
I'd like to keep it that way.
That's what we'll
But
try.
if you consider a 10-foot fence, it'd be even better, if you're gonna do this thing.
We will, we can check with ZBA if that's it.
Yeah, like I previously noted, the regulations allow for a privacy fence up to 8 feet. If the commission would like to go with something higher than that 8 feet, we can explore ways to accomplish that.
Okay, well, let's go back to.
One more point. The fellow next door.
Oh, I'm sorry, you have to come up to the
I'm
microphone.
sorry, sir.
I'm sorry.
She's tough.
My mistake.
It's okay.
The fellow next door to me, in this house here, let's see. This is Richmond,
Kevin Pretite? Brian Pretite?
not Brian, the other side.
Oh, like maybe even numbers.
Jason Golden?
Yeah.
Okay.
I live on this.
He didn't put the fence up, but the fellow before him put a fence up, and that fence has gotta be 10 foot tall.
That's the fence on top of a fence.
Pardon me?
Is that the fence that looks like it's on top of a fence?
Exactly, yeah. That's gotta be 10 foot tall.
It appears.
And that's, maybe even more than 10 foot, and that's been there for a long time.
Okay.
Could you spell your last name for me, please?
Yeah, it's Kordas.
Thank you.
Like you.
We appreciate you coming tonight. Could we hear from the sound person again? Come on up for 1 second.
Absolutely. Perry Chain for the record.
I'm just gonna say again. If we make that fence higher, what does that do for us?
I would have to run the numbers.
Okay.
But to speak.
Because the speaker's 2.5 feet off the ground or 3.5 feet off the ground.
Yeah, so the types of things that we look at, certainly, of course, fence height. When you typically have, if the fence was my height, you would typically get another 5 decibels right off the bat. As you increase, then it more depends on when the receiver location is. So at first, I look at actually at the property line, and then the impact could vary anywhere beyond that. 8 foot from the distance that the speaker is at to the fence, and the property line, would do a sizable amount given typical person height and elements like that. However, it is possible that a 10-foot, that additional 2 feet could give a couple of, take a couple decibels off.
Because if it's overkill, I don't want to make it do something.
Right, yeah, so that is certainly something that I could look into.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then relative to the queuing line, like my kid's gonna go there and leave the radio on in her Jeep, that's wide open, it's gonna be loud. So I'm closer to Mr. Previtt's house, this whole thing, did you study what the sound is from the queuing line, not just solely?
Yes, so we studied a few, 4 different points along the queuing line and in the parking lot. If one of you guys want to pull it up, I'm going to knock this down. I'm just one of those people, just the site plan. Thank you.
Yeah, point 3 is the most important, point 3 is probably one of the most important ones.
Right, so we studied 4 different points, primarily focused on the parking lot, edge of the building, center of the building, and then the westerly edge of the building. So you said you're most concerned about number 3?
Right, exactly, that's what my kid's gonna be.
Right here. Queuing. Just hanging out.
Yeah, the top down and the radio on.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's where the barrier comes into play. That's where, that's gonna have most of the effect, because obviously, yes, we can calibrate the speaker, but we can't calibrate everybody's.
My kid's car.
Absolutely. But so we did look at the way that these different points impact the properties are all very similar, because you're looking at the distance all going north. Of course, here to here, that diagonal is going to be longer. So that's something that if we wanted to dive into a more worst case in terms of that, like something that is out of our control, we can look at various ways to build up that barrier to make sure that it's performing the way we need it to make sure that we're not creating a disturbance.
Okay,
So that's
great.
something we can talk about further as well.
Because we also have to worry a little bit about lights too, headlights from cars, that's why the fence is important, and the bushes are important. Okay, fantastic. Anybody else would like to speak to this application? Please, sir, welcome. Just state your name and address for the record.
And spell your last name?
Kevin Gilronan, Gilronan, 31 Richmond Drive.
You wrote us a letter, right?
Yes.
Got it. Welcome.
All right, been there 25 years. Over the 25 years, we've had Chipotle's, I've got the gas station, crossing the intersection to get onto Richmond, the fences, everything. I mean, they lived it. And what happened is, I'd like to point out a few things. First off, nobody's mentioned how many handicap spots. You know, my wife is handicapped, so I'd like to know how many spaces there are, because that will take away from the 33. So that's a question. The other thing is that with the Chipotle's there, you know, they were supposed to be delivery, but you can't control them. So they come at 11 o'clock every Sunday night. The trash pickup, you're not going to change those guys. They're just, you know, that's what they do. So what happens at Chipotle's, they put in these fences, and, you know, to keep the thing. So the driver, he wouldn't take and open them. So he just let the garbage pile up. And it's probably the same company, because there's also 2 trash cans at the end of the car wash. So, you know, that's a big concern, because that guy is not going to get out there, especially if it's snowing, he's not going to open it up. So that's always been a big factor. And they always come at 3. I mean, I could tell you right now that 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, that they come.
When do you want them to come?
Well, that's the problem. You see, Tom's the landlord, and I actually work for the company that, well, I don't work, I mean, I just do work there as a vendor. But I talked to the owner, and he says, look, my guys come at 3 o'clock. There's no way around it.
We can regulate that.
No, I know, but they only go back to it. Doesn't matter. There's a lot of things that's supposed to be regulated, like the signs at the gas station hasn't been regulated. It's a whole different compound over there. They use air tools and everything. In fact, it's so loud, I got earbuds on, we got 2 fences, and I can still hear everything. And people, like you mentioned, they sit there with the radios, you know, all that stuff. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. But trying to get across the post road, I'm sorry, I have pneumonia, but trying to get across the post road on a Saturday or Sunday can be a disaster. So if you try to get out of West Norwalk Road and you try to turn on a Sunday, and I've done this personally, I can leave my house, walk down to Costco, come back, and that car is still sitting there. So trying to get in and out of there is crazy. There are a lot of accidents there. There really is. There's a lot on West Norwalk Road. Excuse me. So basically the bottom line is you want the positivity. The good thing here is that we don't have something like Chipotle's that leaves their fan running on all night long. Their exhaust fan runs and runs and runs. I mean, they don't shut it off. So you get, you know what it is you pave the way. That's all good, but you can't control your vendors. I don't care who, unless somebody wants to give me a phone number at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll call you. And the only way to cross the traffic is to pull in front of a Tesla because they got to automatically brake in. But it could be tough, getting in and out. On a Saturday or Sunday at 2 o'clock, that's the high peak, and you'll have 40,000 cars coming up and down.
Okay.
It could take you 6 minutes to get across. So there's a few things in the letter, but nobody's brought up any of that other stuff.
No, the garbage enclosure is important and the times are important.
Yeah, you can't have a fence because he's not going to get out, and if he is, he's going to idle. You know what I mean?
Could I just to clarify, because I think I heard the applicants talk about that they were hoping that the garbage would be addressed during business hours, not when deliveries are done.
Right.
But I think what I hear you saying is that, and we normally ask for fence enclosures of dumpsters because we think people want it covered, it looks like an eyesore. But are you saying from your experience living nearby,
yes,
that the fence enclosure in fact creates a situation where garbage or sanitation guys, because they have to open it out.
Right. And employees do not open their mouth. They throw it over the top.
I know, I've seen
and
that.
It lands in there. So what Tom had to do, he owns Chipotle's, property.
Yeah.
So what he did is he took the fences out completely.
So
the guy could come in, get it, he opens it up, down, and gone.
as a neighbor,
Yes.
would that be your preference?
Well, it would
No
be
fence.
better with no fence because your driver's not gonna get out there. And if he does, he's gonna spend 5 minutes getting out of the truck with it idling. Then he's gonna get out there, he's gonna open it up. If it's snowing, he's not gonna be able to open it.
Right.
And then what happens there is
builds up.
you might have employees that are just lazy and they go like this over the top. And there's been many times, I could tell you how many times that the driver comes there and he won't even pick it up. It might go a whole week. It's crazy.
Yeah.
If it were a three-way fence with nothing in the front so that the truck could get in, dump it, employees aren't tossing it over.
Correct.
Would that be,
That would be
something?
better.
the
Yeah,
best
anything
that'd be
that's quicker for them. The other quick thing is when I sit in my living room, I could see the side of the building. Now, that's where they want to put the patio, but the patio at Shake Shack and all the rest of the restaurants are in the front of the building, not towards there. So I was wondering why that was, in that area and not in the front.
We can address, I can take a shot at it, but that's why we still have the architect here.
Right. Because that's what I'm saying. I've been doing electrical all my life. I've dealt with engineers, contractors, designers. Everybody's got a great idea. But what it comes down to, the facts, what works the best? What's the reality? I mean, we could say, hey, when they figured, my sister works at Chick-fil-A, it's a 3-minute turnaround, and they're saying 5 minutes. So look at the difference. You can't control people with radios, because that's just the part of it.
Great.
But, these are just little things. I mean, it's a positive because you have an owner that's not like a corporation, that's huge. But, we've been there and it's so close, it's gonna change things a lot. And then what happens to our property? Because anybody could say anything, but what the reality is how do you fix it? So that's the difference.
See, what we have in our resolutions that we type up.
Right.
It says that garbage pickup will be from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Right. And it never happens. I can tell you that because Tom's got 2 at the end of the car wash, and he's got Chipotle's. He owns all 3.
I know he does.
And not only that, you got the oil guy and the grease guy. So there's 2 other companies that come there. So if they can't access it, they don't pick it up.
Right.
So we created more of a problem by aesthetics and looks.
Right.
It's not functionable, so it's faster if it's pull in, grab it, go.
Okay.
So it's little things. I mean, it's nothing negative. I mean, everything's good. But these little key elements are going to impact, our, value of the house and all that.
on your quality of life.
Right, and then if you take the trees down and it takes 40 years to grow the new ones, you know, it's stuff like that. It just doesn't happen overnight. Trust me, I've been doing it for 25 years and I still can't get them up this high. And they've been in there since, you know, so I'm just saying, it's a difference.
Got it.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Anybody else like to speak to this application? Please. Just state your name and address for the record if you don't mind. Yep.
Yes, and spell your last name.
Previtt, P-E-V-V-I-E.
There we go. Fantastic.
Thank you.
33 Richmond Drive.
Welcome. You are point number 4 on the sound space. Welcome.
Okay, well, a couple things I will take off of what Kevin was talking about with the noise and the garbage. The garbage, everything he says is on point. I wrote down that somebody said this evening, 7 to 10 a.m. refuse pickup. I don't know how that could possibly be guaranteed. We have experienced it with the Darien Car Clinic, Chipotle, very early morning. When my children were babies, and I've been in the house 32 years, and when they were babies, Darien Car Clinic had just opened up, and they were coming at 4 o'clock in the morning. You don't do that to a mom with 2 babies. I called, desperate, please. That resulted, my husband yelled at me for it, what that resulted in is them coming at the same time, but slamming the dumpsters every morning. It was horrific for my daughter, who has the back bedroom on the post road side. So I don't know how any of that can be guaranteed. I don't know what help there's been from the town to even police that. So that's a huge concern, besides the fact it's going to back right up to our property. So I don't know about smell, vermin, that kind of thing. So that's a huge concern. Traffic. I've heard talk of, we're not a national company, but they're obviously successful. So they're opening number 2. I would think that they'd want to continue to be more successful. They could be a Chick-fil-A someday or a Chipotle. So they would hope they're going to get that kind of traffic. And where's that traffic going? It's going to go down in front of Darien Car Clinic, all the way down to Chipotle. Anyone who's taken a softball team to Chipotle knows how awful the traffic is getting in and out, even though they do have an in and then an exit and entrance. So it's not circular, but there is an entrance off West Norwalk Road. So they do have it, but it's terrible. Trader Joe's, terrible. There's a lot of terrible entrances that we could compete with.
Yes.
The patio, I too want to know why it's on the side of the building. I was trying to go through town. I'm a 3rd generation Darienite, so I know a lot of buildings in town, but I could not think of one that has a patio, a restaurant that has a patio that backs or is adjacent to a residential neighborhood. I can't think of one. I mean, Rory's has a house next to it, but I think that's their house. And if that patio becomes anything like Rory's, that's not ideal. They're going to be serving beer and wine, I know, one and go, but if it's a lovely, July evening, your kids are running around because you've just been to a softball game, maybe you're going to sit with the other parents and have a few beers, and it becomes a big party and whatever. Same with the drive-through, with all that noise coming, how can you control that? The acoustical person mentioned that the code is 55 decibels, but at the site, it's 61. So what's that saying? It's already too loud, right? But yet they can go 5 over that. So the speaker can be 5 over that. So you're just adding more noise to already too much noise. The difference in noise from when we moved in 32 years ago to now is incredible. It's very difficult to even hear ourselves talk on our back deck. So if a fence can help, I go for 12 feet. But, 6 feet's not going to cut it because that's what's been there and it does nothing. I would hope, I understand owners say they're going to be on site, but they're in West Hartford and they have another store. Are they? 6 days a week, 11 to 10? I don't know how that will work. They also talked about limitations on Uber Eats, no music, open later. So who's to say none of these things will come forward in the future? and they begin having music on the patio, or they serve more liquor, or they're open 7 days a week, or they stay open later. Lights are also an issue. I don't know what the lighting will be like or how it will reflect on our properties. Sure did a lot of studies for the football field at Darien High School, so I would hope we get the same consideration. Did I miss anything? I think you've heard most of it. The rest, of course, the other thing is how it affects our lifestyle, our quality of life, and our property values. I'm a local realtor in town, so I know what it's going to do to our property values. I know very well what it's going to do, and it's not a positive. So I have no doubt the food's good and the restaurant's beautiful. I just don't know that this makes sense in this restaurant row that we have here, and the traffic and the accidents of crossing the post road and all that. So I think I covered everything I wanted to say. So thank you.
If anything comes up, we have another hearing too.
Okay.
We haven't talked about lighting.
Yeah, I know. I want to bring up Matt Papa.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Thank you for bringing up the lighting. Did Matt Pop do the lighting? In the lighting, like on the,
I think Jenny can also speak to some of the.
well, why don't we do Jenny first? Because Jenny's just gonna tell us the reason why the patio's on the sides, because there's the drive lane in the front. I bet.
She will speak to that and to some of the other design features that will help. Everybody else wanted to put into the record. I know we're not discussing this, but those are the summaries and the changes from the existing buildings that proposed reflected on the plans that were discussed with ARB, so that you have them for your
Great.
record.
Okay.
We saved you for a reason.
So-
Welcome. You have her name and everything, right?
Yes. Jennifer Morgenthau for the record.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to start with the patio or the lighting?
Whatever you want.
So the patio on the side here, there's a canopy 12 feet above the ground, and it's on the underside is the reclaimed wood, very similar to what's on the outside of the rest of the building in different areas, sort of a mixture of materials. It doesn't show on here, but we're also thinking of having a very soft lighting as far as like string lights, something very quaint. We're only having the 4 picnic tables outside. It's not meant for main seating. Again, it's really more of an option for people that do not want to go inside. We're definitely not focusing on this being the main focus. This was the most convenient place when placing everything else on the site. The walkway, looking at the front facade, what it's going to look like from the street. Also the lane of traffic that was discussed to get you back out to that left turn. All of those things, this was just the location that seemed to make the most sense. The other thing is you're coming from the parking lot, you're kind of walking right past it. It's giving you kind of that nice, feeling. You're going in, you might think about going back outside if you don't want to be in there. Yes.
If you were to move the outdoor patio seating from the easterly side where it is now to the front, would that impede the pedestrian traffic that currently it appears if they park in the larger parking area that's now to the east and utilize that sidewalk and, right, because there's a concrete pavement drive-through circulation area to the front.
Yep.
And there is then shrubs and landscaping, and then it appears that there is anticipated to be concrete or paved pedestrian walkway
Right.
that goes in front of the building to the pedestrian walk-up window. If the seating were to be moved to the front from the easterly side, how would that impact pedestrian safety, given that there's a car paved, circulation way in front of the building and a anticipated pedestrian pathway?
Honestly, I don't think it would be a good idea. You would not physically have enough space, I don't think, to fit all of those things in front of the building, given also the setbacks and everything
Right.
else.
The front yard
You have this
setbacks
little
add-
tiny skinny patio, essentially.
Yeah.
And that was our first thought. was maybe having something off the front, that might be fun.
Yep.
But given the fact that we don't really want people on this side going for pickup, we want the employees over there.
Right.
Most people are gonna be coming from the parking lot, going in front of the building, so you have to have that path there.
Right.
And also just aesthetically, we were thinking you have basically the street, you have, greenery, you have another street essentially, you have more greenery, you have another smaller, path. It's just so many things
Yeah.
that trying to get a patio to work in there really just didn't make sense.
But you did consider it, and it just, all things considered.
Yeah.
We thought that was a more logical location. It's a 30-foot setback in the front, and that includes that
Right.
sidewalk. Actually, currently, there's an encroachment, I think, we're on the property line slightly, and then we have, if I'm reading this right, it's a 40, the building is currently set back at 48 feet.
48 feet.
Which is existing, so there's 18 feet, which doesn't, it sounds like a large amount of space when we start to consider the circulation around those tables as well. And then also removing some of the on-street landscaping that was attractive for, to the ARB, and that was important to be maintained. That also came into consideration. That did not come up moving it, I will say, at the ARB. They didn't think about some of the site considerations that some of our neighbors had raised to us, but we had looked at it as part of the design before we presented to the ARB.
The other thing, to your point about pedestrian traffic and everything, people are gonna be coming out here, with their food, there's just gonna be pedestrian traffic wherever a patio is.
Of course.
I just think sort of pushing it off away from where traffic
The
would be.
multiple lanes of traffic over
Right,
there.
would be a better solution.
Thank
Okay. And then just you want to do the lighting too?
So the lighting, I won't speak to the site lighting, but the lighting on the building, we do have, the bird code sign, I should mention, is gonna be backlit with a very, warm white glow on that reclaimed wood. That was actually an ARB suggestion that we took, and it's gonna look beautiful. The other thing is, all of these, it's kind of hard to see if you look on your copies, but these are all awnings that come out from the building. Underneath all of the awnings, there's actually the reclaimed wood again, and then there's actually lighting, little downlights all the way along. There's downlights all the way along here, and then we'll have the string lights in here, so everything, it won't be very massive, obnoxious lighting. And
But it's
you'll have
lighting
a
that's
glow from the
directed
inside.
downwards
Yes.
towards walk areas,
Towards walk areas.
Full
doorways.
cutoff, all
Yes.
full cutoff fixtures. We reviewed that with ARB as well. That
Yep.
was
So
imperative.
it's not lit up to attract
Correct.
That's right.
to the site, it's
And something that may also be considered an improvement, because the bank that was here before had a 24-hour ATM, the sign was removed. Yes, there's a 24-hour accessible ATM here, so the security lighting was on at all times. Now we will have at 10 or 11 o'clock when the building closes completely. While there will be minimal security lighting on for the purposes of cameras and safety, there won't be the same level of lighting because that lighting always invited people onto the property. It was not advertised. In fact, when I went through your record, it was requested that the building sign that advertised it as 24 hours was removed, so it wasn't there, but the lighting plan in the file reflected a 24-hour activity. That won't be the case here. So there will be less lighting when the building is closed at 11.
Now, can you just tell us about the lighting on the back side of the building, which is what the neighbors are going to see?
On the back side of the building, we don't really have.
We should go to the site plan, I guess.
Well, I can at least show you the very rough elevation here. So, this is what the neighbors are gonna be seeing right here, okay?
So where your finger is right now, that's the drive-through.
This is the little drive up.
Speaker.
This is the patio over
Yep.
here. So this entire thing right here is another awning that's coming out.
Reclaimed wood.
Yep, with the reclaimed wood. Also lighting all the way along here. I imagine we're going to have, this is actually the exterior door to the back, the service door. We're probably going to have some sort of a, not really a floodlight, but just some sort of a directed light for, coming in and out of that. You go around to the other side, which is, actually, that's not it. This side, these are the two pickup windows. You're gonna have another awning here with more downlights. right along in here. So
Do
that's
we need the
basically all
lighting
it
on the back side of the building? It's inside the awning?
You won't need as much, but you probably will need some.
The service door,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a safety.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna need some sort of a light, whether that just be directional, outside just for safety. I imagine that these, the spacing of these lighting, the fixtures themselves will probably be a little bit less because you're not gonna need it as much as you would like in the front.
Can you just check that for me? Because I'm envisioning you having LED lights that are hi-hats that are along that whole strip.
Along underneath here.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can look into.
Just look at that, see how many you have on the back side versus the front side.
Okay.
And if we can minimize it, we will.
Yeah.
Between now and the next meeting.
Yeah.
May I just ask you, what is the height of the canopy from the side elevation?
This right here, it's, all the way around is 12 feet above grade.
Okay, so again, I mentioned there was a little bit of a grade change where it's slightly lower than neighbors behind, so that may be consistent with whatever fence height we can achieve, whether that is the 8, which we'll go with for this application, and if we can pursue something together that's reasonable moving forward, we can.
Yeah, I'm more on adding more bushes team.
I'm sorry, what?
I would rather see you add more bushes than the 9 that are there.
More bushes, add more bushes. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause they can grow higher.
We'll review that too.
Did Jim, you have a question?
Yeah, I just for you to think about, and it depends on how high the fence is gonna be at the end of the day. I mean, some
We're at
places
minimum
can
of
make-
8 right now, that's what we can do as of right.
All right, now, you got the building, the wall of the building, and you got this awning, it's just 12 feet here or at the edge, at the outer edge.
12 feet to this space, right here. That is 12 feet high.
That's the outer edge.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What I'm trying to come to grips with as an accommodation to the neighbors is to have the lamp in here so that if there's any loom, it won't get over the fence.
Yes.
That is how it's,
Understand
exactly how it's been designed
Okay.
Yeah,
underneath that.
that was actually a suggestion by the ARB as well.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
So there is no exterior lighting on the canopy edge.
No,
at
it's all underneath.
It's all underneath, and they are small lights. There's also wood underneath that absorbs both sound and light.
Great.
So the reclaimed light, so that's been thought through. That was
And that was the
ARB
reclaimed
suggestion.
wood on the, under the
Underneath.
soffits, that was also a suggestion from the ARB as well.
Okay. On the back side of this site plan or the plan, the fence wraps around, and I think we have more planters there. There's 3 IGs, whatever that's put IGs. Is there any way to move that thing forward? If you look at the site plan or the architectural plan.
The site plan?
So you're squeezing the patio from the
Do you have
back
the
to the
site
front. Move this up this way. And what's the problem?
I'm sorry, I'm not clear on the question. Do you mind repeating that for me?
Do you have the landscaping plan?
Oh, the landscape plan, yep.
You see those 3 high IGs in the back where Matt put them in?
Upper right-hand corner
Right, yep.
of this square.
Great, move those further south. No,
No, down.
down towards,
Yeah, okay.
Imagine if you eliminated the biking or moved the bike rack and moved that whole patio
Oh,
closer to the
you're
road.
talking
Shift
about
the
moving
patio forward.
Further
Shifting
forward.
We can look at that. The bike racks were important
no, they are important.
to many other folks in town, so we'll look at that.
There's a bike rack at Shake Shack.
We're annoying like that.
I'm just thinking of moving it, shifting it forward, and then get rid of the lighting in the back of the building.
Okay, we'll look at that.
Thank you.
The only thing that I will mention to that point is, we do have, an entrance right here with a small
I know.
awning, so if you move that forward, you'd probably have to just really end it here and maybe make the patio smaller.
Smaller, yeah, you could cut out the last table too.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
Something like that. Any other questions from the general public? I think you're allowed to come up twice.
When we have some responses, we can quickly share.
Sure, that'd be great.
Gil Ronan, Kevin Gil Ronan, 31 Richmond Drive. Couple of quick extras that I was thinking of. when they do come out of because you can have the perfect system, but if somebody comes out and tries to make the right-hand turn, I don't care where you are, Home Depot, whatever, they're still gonna make a left. So it's gonna hold up all the traffic like Costco. That was one thing. The other question that I have is the sign itself for the menu outside, is that gonna be digital, and how bright?
Okay,
Okay?
we will find out.
Thank you, guys.
Jackie, you hear that?
Yes, Bill has the answers to that. And, as far as the traffic is concerned, well, all we can do is to
That's it. It's
right,
on
we
him.
can be
Yeah.
consistent with the regulations. We can't control what people do. We can only provide enough wayfinding to hope that they make good choices, safe ones for themselves and for their neighbors. But it's not lost on us that they do have concerns, and we will try to address those. We'll provide them with the copies of the responses that we've given and hope that those are helpful. But Phil does have some operational responses with regard to noise, garbage. It was a very interesting comment that you made, sir, because I've done a lot of garbage enclosures, it's always make it look as beautiful as possible so no one knows there's garbage inside. But that is a real life experience you have with it. So to that extent, if you want it to be what it is, we can show everyone what it is, and that's fine. And if at some point we need to come back and close it because there's another concern that's created, we can balance those.
Yeah, you can actually do it the other way, put the doors on. If the doors don't work, then take the doors
And then take them off, we can certainly do that as well, but Phil can speak to that, to noise and to garbage pickup.
Do the murals, can do the garbage, can do the garbage.
Do the mural on the garbage?
That's a great idea. Just paint the garbage can.
Yeah, paint the garbage cans.
Those things, right?
I don't know, idea, I like that, I don't know that idea at all.
That's a good idea.
They just did it at Stanford Mall. Go ahead, sir.
All right, excuse me for one second, your initial question was the mini board.
Yep.
So the mini board is internally lit, it is not a digital board. Essentially what we do is, we almost gooseneck it, so to speak. So there was that drawing, the elevation that went around there. So it's LED lights, they go around the corner, we place a mini board inside. Again, like I said, it's not lit, then we light it externally. It's a very soft light. It is not designed for somebody to see it from 80 feet away. That's not what we're looking for at all. It just needs to be visible from essentially the car that's in front of it and somewhat visible from the car that's behind it. A lot of concepts like this, they would go ahead and set up 2 mini boards so that somebody can pre-look. Well, we didn't want to do that because the concern was, again, light for the neighbors. So we want to keep it to the minimum as we can. We also decided to keep the mini board up close to the vehicles, which helped us again on the sound end and from the light as well.
Can you get us a picture of the one that's in West Hartford?
We don't have a current
Oh,
drive-through.
there's no drive-through.
Yeah, so what, I can get a rendering done. We discussed Onyx earlier, Perry referenced them. Onyx produces all of that for us. They also produce the overhangs as well, all that stuff, and we'll have one of those that's put together.
We didn't ask you for the rendering of the menu board?
No, they asked us just for what we provided to you today.
Which is, can I see, I think? Okay, that'd be great. If we get a rendering, that would be fantastic.
On the topic of the trash.
Yep.
So when you're dealing with a company like Chipotle that has 2,500 stores, they don't care. They're gonna drop it when they're gonna drop it. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. Generally what we do with all of our service providers is we do 3 to 5 year contracts. We put required times in for them. West Hartford's been open for 18 months. They're required to empty every Tuesday and every Friday before 11 a.m. They have not missed one time. It's something that, it's key for us. Grease is in the same thing. We're looking to do that as well. You want to make sure that they're in there and out of there. Our grease is running an algorithm. We actually do a holding tank, because if you don't, then they're there every 2 weeks, and that's the last thing that we want. So you run an algorithm, they're there once every 2 months. They'll be there during that time as well. All of the deliveries, we have a supply chain set up with 3 different providers. Those deliveries are required to be dropped in our stores 7 to 10 a.m. every single day, pre-drop for our team when our team comes in there. Again, these are issues that I've seen in other operations that I've run, and it's something that we want to try to stay away from at all costs.
Okay, and the hours of the store are what?
So currently, we're currently open.
You want to be open from
10 to
from 10:30 a.m.?
10:30
a.m. until 11 p.m., although the 11 p.m. is a seasonal.
So 11 p.m. would be solely reserved for the summertime. We don't have any interest in being open outside of that time. During the rest of the year, 10:30 a.m. till 10 p.m.
10:30.
And again, closed on Mondays. Like I said, we're not interested in being open on that day.
So it's 10:30 in the morning to 10 p.m. at night.
To 10 p.m. at night.
like 9 months a year, 8 months a year?
Yeah, it's essentially about 9 months a year. And then that 11 o'clock would be reserved for Fridays and Saturdays during the summer.
Okay.
No, and again, that's, you know, it's what the consumer is looking for. If the town, if the consumer in this town is not looking for that, we don't have any intent, we don't plan on
They
it.
won't stay open,
Yeah.
it won't be worth the investment in the
You have 12
electricity, in the infrastructure, and the product,
Exactly,
and your
we're-
employees.
You know, labor's expensive now.
You have 12 people an hour paying $15 an hour.
It's tough.
To sell 4 chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, and that, I mean, and then you got, you know, your leadership in the restaurant too, all that. We're currently open in West Hartford, 11 to 9. That's what suited that. Originally, when we opened, it was 11 to 10. Economics weren't working from 9 to 10. We pulled it back.
Got it.
So they're interested in the option of staying open later with the, understanding what market forces are, and we pull that back.
Okay, okay. Any other questions we had for him to answer?
One of the gentlemen mentioned the exhaust fan at Chipotle. You don't plan on running
No.
yours 24 hours a day?
No, we use all the latest technology from Captive Air, you know, designed to reduce the smells, of course, and noise as well. No, we will not be running that all day. It's set on an algorithm. As soon as the fryer is shut down, it goes out. It's done. Same thing I run in West Hartford now. You know, one of our team members actually lives in the home right next to our store in West Hartford. He lives on the second. He's actually our maintenance guy, so he deals with all that. And we ask every single week, do you smell? Do you hear? Ask the people that live in your house with you. And at this point, we haven't had any concerns on that end.
Okay.
The vent will be up.
Straight up.
Straight up, not
Oh,
out.
not out the side, no. We don't do that anymore. No, nobody does. Yeah, not a good move.
And there was also a question about the number of handicap spaces, and
Yep,
there's
so
one handicap.
we currently have the one handicap spot and then the secondary spot with it for assistance as well. It's the closest parking space to the front door, as we always try to do in all of our stores.
That's regulated too.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
That's what you have to have. Okay. I think we're good. It's now 10:15. We heard from the general public. We heard from your entire team, right?
Yes, you have, and thank you very much for the generous amount of time you gave to us tonight, and for the public comment, and I think that we have a nice list of things that we need to do, and we'll follow up with you, Fred and Jeremy, with what we plan to deliver, and we'll try to get that back to you in as far in advance as possible, and we will liaise with Mr. Galante as well.
Okay. You guys swear? We're gonna move on?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Thank you so
The next hearing is?
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and
Continue.
continue this to May 10th at 7:30 PM in room 206 of Darien Town Hall.
Okay. Okay, so this public hearing is continued to May 6th.
May 10th.
May 10th in Darien Town Hall. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
We're done?
All right, that is the end of the public hearing. Then we're gonna move on to the general meeting. The items of the general meeting, chairman's report, director's report, and any other business. Do we have any other business at all? We good? Okay. The only thing relative to the chairman's report, I got a chance to walk through building 1 of Darien Commons today. It's under construction. Federal. Yep. There's gonna be 58 units in the first building. About a half a dozen of them are pre-rented for the apartments. The retail space is 50% pre-committed, and they still have stuff to go. They are set to open middle of July, and first real move-in should be August 1st.
Great.
Okay. Any director's report items? Okay. Any 2/3? Nope. Next upcoming meetings are going to be May 3rd and May 10th. Anything special on those dates?
May 3rd, we have the application for 7 Sedgwick. That's going to be the biggest application the commission is considering that night.
That's the old Bank of America bank.
Oh, again, we're seeing that again.
It's in a flood zone.
We had originally rescheduled or continued the hearing for Stephen Mather Road, the Mather Homestead for that night. The applicant withdrew that application today. So we may be seeing that at a later date, but for now, that's been withdrawn.
May 10th, anything special?
May 10th would of course be the continuation for bird code, as well as several other minor public hearings. residential projects.
Fantastic. Okay, with that said, looking for a motion to adjourn. Jim makes the motion. Adam makes the second. All in favor? All set, TV 79. Hearing's over.
Thank you.